Okay, all right. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody is doing okay. Been trying to get rid of some of the like beepy, nasty sounding beepy noises and stuff. I think I figured out what it is. Mostly. Can't guarantee it, but let's fade the music out for just a second. We'll see how I sound. Hopefully I sound okay. Not bad. Not too bad. I think it was the mixer that was making all that ruckus. There's still some in there, obviously. There's still a little bit that I was having trouble with, but I think this is quite a bit better, honestly. I'm not too unhappy with this. See if I can knock that last little bit out, maybe with a low pass filter. Just gonna scoot it way over here. Let's see if it'll roll off some of that nastiness. There we go. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. That was a little bit of a nightmare. I'm so sorry that it took a little bit of stop and start, and it did take a bit of... Let's see. I am very particular about the audio, and so if it's going to be something that I don't think to be very pleasant, then obviously I want to try and let's put that over there. Okay. Put a little bit of music in it. There we are, just a little bit. I think we can set up, my goodness. See if you guys can hear it. We'll go a little bit louder than that. Let's see if that's it. Okay. So there are little bits of hiss I'm working on trying to get rid of, and I'll work on them. This microphone is a microphone from the 1970s. It is not the microphone that's making the hiss. I did double check. And the buzzing and the beeping sound, I think it has to do... It could be a little bit, but I think it has to do with my mixer, and my mixer is didn't get some rest and maybe needs to cool down and some stuff, but ultimately not too bad. Real quick, let's move over. So what I was going to do is let me change the music to get the theme going, actually. See if I have it there. I may not have it here. If I don't, then that's okay. Do I have it? Can I take a look at my list here? I don't know if I put it in the same list or not, so we're gonna see. All right. I don't know. It's not giving me a scroll bar, so I thought I had some Star Wars lo-fi, but I guess it's not in this. Okay, there's my scroll bar. Let's see if it's in here. It may not be. I may have had it in its own thing and then just not brought it back in. Recently, I had an issue with stuff kind of wiping out, so we'll see what happened. Yeah, I don't see it here, but that's okay. I thought it might be fun to start this off with a tier list, because that was something that I thought might make me happy and something that I hope you might like to participate in. I want to go ahead and give a quick warning. Nothing too terribly major, but if you are interested in any of the episodes of the Star Wars franchise, I'm going to do my best not to spoil things, but I am going to let you know that this could contain some things that I say that could be considered mild spoilers. And if indeed you are just wanting to go in absolutely shiny, squeaky clean, you may want to avoid this part. But I'm not really going to spoil anything. I'll mention things. If there's something that may be kind of a spoiler-y, I'll mention where I got it and why I don't necessarily believe it's a spoiler. If you decide that it's not, then you can obviously do switch off if you want. Whatever's comfortable. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody, but I am going to go ahead and scoot us over to the tier maker page. Here we are, the tier maker page. Now, I didn't do any of the cutesy. I didn't do any the cutesy names. I decided to just keep it as SABCD. It's almost Saber, right? That could be an E, that could be an R. But I figured this would be kind of a cool way to start off a stream. It does say it's a Mario stream, but I did subtitle it as the Star Wars first. Sorry for that little flash of the windows. I'm moving windows around. Sorry. So as usual, what we're going to be doing, I'll be rating these on a scale of S to D, D tier being the worst, and I'll say end of D tier will be on the occasion that I haven't seen it. I think there's only one in here that I don't know if I've seen, don't know if I've seen. But other than that, I think I've seen all of these. I know I've seen several of them. And I'll tell you why I do and don't. Now, obviously, I want you guys to be cordial, but obviously, if you disagree, I'd love to hear why you disagree, what your thoughts are on it, if you'd make changes to the list, what you'd make changes to, that kind of stuff. Nothing too terribly major. So I'm going to start off in the order that they are presented, not in the order that I've watched them or seen them, which, ironically... Oh, this is kind of in the order of their release anyway, so fair enough. This probably would have been pretty close to the order I saw most of these in. So here we've got Star Wars A New Hope. This came out in the 1970s, 1977. It is one of the greatest films of all time. Not just Star Wars films, it's one of the greatest films of all time. It has sparked a religion. It has sparked quotes that are made to this day. I used to have, when I would go to work, and I worked in cybersecurity, fiber optic, all that kind of good stuff. I used to have a gentleman. He was an engineer. He'd been there with the company for a long time, and that was how he greeted me, and that was how he let me go. He was super smart guy. I won't share his full name, but I will say his first name was Glenn. Great guy. And that was how he did it. Even when I had gone in, I didn't even know who he was to go get the job. May the force be with you. Thought that was super, super cool. And it was from this film. This film is what spanned the generations. This is something that he was watching as a young adult and was a fan of, and had carried that fandom up into his 60s, which is how old I believe he was in his early 60s when I started working with him. He's only just recently chosen to retire. It's just this one film. This whole franchise does this. This one film right here, though, I think has bridged 4 generations. Right? We're talking about the people that would have been considered boomers, that generation. That the baby boomer generation would have been young adults when this was coming out. Generation X would have been kids when this was coming out. Generation Y would have seen it because of its how prolific it is, and Generation Z are, I believe, beginning to look at it as a retro React channel type of thing. So it's kind of interesting how this is spanned, but I definitely put this in S tier. This is the one that started it all, and it's still so good to this day. Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back, ironically not directed by George Lucas, though it was written, and there was definitely influence of his on it, is my favorite Star Wars film. So bearing in mind that I'm going to try to be as empirical as I can, but at the end of the day, I am going to put some coloration, some bias on it. I do think Empire is only slightly better. And the reason that is it furthered so many different agendas really well. Agenda 1 was the romance between Han and Leia. It was the revelation of Vader. By the way, these are all spoilers because you have had 30 years. You've had 30 plus years you've had 40 years to see these. So if these are spoilers, then you've had ample time. I'll probably go spoilery up through. I probably won't go too spoilery on things that you haven't had all that much time to watch. Certainly not on Ahsoka, but I'm gonna be a little bit spoilery, obviously, on I think at least the mainline sequels, prequels, and original trilogy. But Empire just furthered so many things. It introduced the Emperor to us. It revealed Darth Vader as Luke's father. It introduced Luke as a Jedi who was training and failing. It introduced emotional conflict. It just did such a good job on all of that, in my opinion. So it is my favorite by a slight margin. I have a buddy who 4 is his favorite, and then 5, and honestly, you can't really go wrong. Then we have Return of the Jedi. Now, Return of the Jedi, this is probably going to be a little unpopular. Return of the Jedi is not S tier for me. It's a good movie. A lot of stuff is done right. You have the full Jedi confident Luke. You've got the introduction of Lando as the actual full-fledged rebel, right? Not just a hero who not just a turncoat who made his way into the Rebel Alliance, but actually a full-fledged general captain. You've got the Emperor, you've got the throne room scene, which is the Luke versus Vader, then Luke versus Emperor, then Vader versus Emperor. All of those are great things. But the Battle of Endor, in my opinion, is a little weak. It feels kind of like, to me, this movie always feels like jumping from beginning to end without much of a middle. You kind of think about it, and the beginning is this rescue of Han Solo and this the skiff scene and all that. And then once the rescue's done, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of transition. It kind of is like, I've got to go to the Death Star before they build it and talk to the Emperor, and the other one is like, I kind of got to go and take down a shield generator. Oh, here's the plans to the Death Star. And even though it does span the entirety of a full-length movie, it feels like a beginning on Tatooine and end on Endor and the Death Star, but not much of a middle. And it always just kind of gets me. So I like the movie. A tier, not S tier. Sorry. Star Wars Episode 1. I went and watched it in theaters in 99 several times. I went and watched it in the theaters again in 2016, I think it was, or 2015 or 2016. So I think it was 2016. They came out with a 3D rendition of it. So you could go watch it in IMAX 3D, and it was amazing. I really like this. This introduces a whole lot of great characters who would go and be expanded upon in the best possible way. It introduces you to Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi It explains who Jedi Luke and Leia's mother and father were. It introduces us to some really awesome characters. Qui-Gon Jinn, who I believe to be a phenomenal character, and Darth Maul, who is an amazing character due to the efforts, the continuing efforts of some of the writers like Claudia Gray, who I believe wrote Master and Apprentice. Several of the writers who wrote on Maul, as well as the efforts of Sam Witwer. I mean, Episode 1 is amazing. It's got some great music, in my opinion, music that could, in some music that rivals, and some music that actually beats out the music of the original trilogy for me, such as Duel of the Fates. I mean, this is a phenomenal film, but it is a little monotone. It is a little boring. I know it's important. It needs to establish the political climate, but it is a little eh. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in A tier, but it is under 6 for me. Then we have Episode 2. Episode 2 is fine. Episode 2 to me feels like that they wanted to do stuff that they had started in Episode 1. There's some evidence that they wanted to do that, and then they just didn't because of some lack of popularity of certain things, characters, plot points. Jar Jar Binks was among those, I think. I think he was supposed to have a much larger part, and instead he was toned very substantially down. They introduced Dooku, which was incredibly hasty. Literally the first scene, you've got this, this Senator ship landing. Captain Typho is there. And then, boom, it blows up. Corday's dead. We didn't even know who Corday was. And all of a sudden, Padme is sad. So for me, it kind of feels rushed. It also introduces great characters. Dooku, who wouldn't be great, in my opinion, until they started to expand on his character. Episode 3 made him a lot better, and then they've started to expand on it, and I'll talk about that in the future here. And Jango Fett, literally one of the coolest Mandalorians you'll see with the Westar 34, pew-pew, gunslinger-esque blasters. Super, super cool. But I would say Attack of the Clones, because of its hasty, kind of incohesive story, goes in B tier for me. Oof, this is the one that I'm going to get some flack for. This is very contentious. This is Star Wars Episode 3. Star Wars Episode 3, by my opinion and estimation and whatever other, thing you want to put into my purview, this has undoubtedly the best score of any of the Star Wars as a whole. Like, the score of this is consistently epic. When it's meant to be tense, it feels tense, but it moves. It makes you feel like you're moving with it. I think it's really, really awesome. Move this down a little bit. The progression is a little fast, but they had to sum it up in a reasonable amount of time. We get some of the most awesome lightsaber combat in it. And my favorite, a lot of people's, the Annie versus Obi towards the end on Mustafar. For me, I actually really enjoy Annie and Obi versus Dooku. I think that fight is awesome. We get to see General Grievous, who is super cool and introduced to it. We get to see the kind of pinnacle of Palpatine or Sidious. We get to see the pinnacle of Dooku. It's just so freaking cool. I think this is, to me, this is S tier. Now it doesn't beat these out for me, but it does go to S tier. It does beat these out for me, and that does include Return of the Jedi, which I know a lot of people consider sacrilege if you don't have all three of the original trilogy in S tier. Okay, so now we go to Episode 7, 2015, I believe. Introduces new characters. We get some old characters back. We get Han and Chewie, and then we have Rey, which is new. We have Finn, we have Poe, we have Kylo. I think everybody kind of agrees that the best parts of these movies was Kylo Ren. I still think that that's the case. And Kylo does some really cool stuff in this one. I mean, he freezes, at the very beginning, he freezes this blaster bolt in midair, just whoosh, goes out, and he's, this isn't a bad movie. It's definitely just Episode 4 done slightly worse, with slightly different planets, like Jakku instead of Tatooine, but it's very clearly an homage to, or very similar to, Tatooine. Starkiller Base, more powerful, but it is still technically a Death Star. And even though we still have Han and Chewie, we have Poe and Finn, and they're kind of the same thing, right? You've got the doofy, somewhat competent one, and then you've got the ace combat, cocky, sure, whatever. So, not a bad movie. Not a great movie, in my opinion. Just the same as this movie, but not quite done as well. I will put it... I think I'll put it here, because this, while I don't think it was super cohesive, did some new things. You know, we saw Dooku. We saw Dooku. We saw a Sith Lord who had remorse. We had the Clone Wars. There's some interest there. The other one just didn't really do anything super well. It kind of stages itself up as if it will, and then it doesn't really do anything new or impressive. So I'm gonna say B tier. You know, B tier being average, right? C being below average, D being super below average or not very worth it. Or in some instances, and I'll admit it, if I haven't seen it, I would say I hadn't seen it. Okay, this is where we start getting into territory we've not been into. This is The Last Jedi. I have friends who like this movie. They think it was great. They think that Rian Johnson's subversion of expectations was phenomenal. And that's perfectly okay. I'm glad they enjoyed it. I don't like it at all. For me, Rey was able to do far too much with far too little training. She was able to take on Kylo, who not only had Skywalker blood, Skywalker and Solo blood, which doesn't really matter, Skywalker blood, Skywalker training, but also, you know, had been doing this for some time. You have Poe, who is an ace pilot who takes down over 20 some odd planes, and the entire movie he's strung along, even though he's being rightfully suspicious. I mean, just, my goodness. Viddy's Gaming Video says, in every generation there is a retro room. He alone will stream, while Viddy should be working on his Buffy review. This is the post-PAX rest. Well, welcome, Viddy. I hope I'm not disturbing your rest, but I certainly am glad to have you in here. Just real quick question to your ears: is my audio okay? I'm trying a different microphone out. I was testing it. I just want to make sure it sounds okay. I'm using this an RE50 from the 1970s. I thought it was just kind of cool. Nearly done, not to worry. I'm excited for it. Anna actually pointed it out. Audio's good? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Anna pointed it out, the Buffy thing. She had shown me the picture that she had up there, and she is stoked. I didn't really know Buffy. She is the one that got me going on it, and so she's super stoked, and I'm going to happily watch that with her, and I'll learn more about it. I know we have the games, I just have not really played them very much, and I don't know all that much about Buffy. I know I'm a sinner, I apologize, but we're super excited to see what you have to say about them. Her as a Buffy fan, and me as just a fan of games in general. Oh my goodness sakes. So, we're super excited. We're watching with bated breath. No, so I haven't watched much of the series either. I didn't grow up a Buffy fan. I grew up a Star Trek Next Generation fan. I grew up a Hercules fan. I liked Xena okay. I did spend a lot of time watching Star Wars, obviously, as you can tell, hopefully. But I haven't really watched the series. I have played the games briefly. We played Chaos Bleeds very briefly. And then, of course, they have the Xbox exclusive one, which we played on this channel for maybe 30 minutes or something like that. I sort of didn't grow up with Buffy until I watched the DVDs around. Okay, that's fair. I guess I started watching Buffy with Anna maybe 2 years ago. That's how new I am to the series. In fact, my Buffy viewing on Discord could have been your intro to the series. Oh, I missed that entirely. But just to be fair, and I don't know if you were privy to it, we saw this all recently, but we have been gone. Ann and I were on vacation, so we actually were on a boat in the middle of the ocean, sailing to Honduras and Mexico, and so we didn't have particularly reliable connectivity out there. It was a little bit hit or miss. So I apologize if we've been radio dark for that bit. That has been why. So I don't know when you did that, if that has been in the past 2 weeks. If it's been in the past week, then I might have missed. Nothing wrong with being off grid. Yeah, I don't need, me personally, I don't need, oh, just did it this morning. No, I wasn't off grid this morning. I guess I didn't see it. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I guess I just didn't get it. I didn't see it or didn't get a notification. Let me take a look at my notifications though. I've had that issue with Thumb as well though, so I apologize if I am. I don't have a notification for it. Huh. I'm sorry about that. I would have, yeah, if it were just this morning, I would have happily been, this morning for your time, I would have happily been a part of that. But yeah, Buffy was, I'm in a couple of, I think I'm in a couple of Discords with you. I may not have been invited to your Discord, so I'm not sure. It's very hard for me to keep up. I'm definitely tech privy. I've had a job in IT for a majority of my career. I just guess that the more exposed you are to IT, the more you realize that it's appropriate to dose very slowly and where you are. So I very much make sure that my internet interaction is polite and making sure that I'm supporting and showing support for all my friends. But I also am not on it all day, every day. I don't scroll, or I don't usually need to respond to, unless you reach out to me. Or if I get a notification like Omega's online, I'll be there. If I get a notification you've got an event, I'll happily try to make it, or I'll be there. I've missed some of Omega's as well, but that's me. I apologize that I missed it. Because I would happily have tried, and I know Anna would have. She would have been sitting there pointing, and oh, this is what this is. She's got all the. I'm trying to reduce that sort of social media stuff, especially next year when I want to do other things in life. Yeah, and that makes sense. It's good to have friends. It's good to have friends online. It's good to make content if that's what you're passionate about, and it's good to make content that you post online, right? But if you're online consistently and you're getting involved in all of the drama and all of the stuff that's going on, and you end up finding yourself to be less comfortable or less happy, as I see a lot of people do, it's not worth it, especially if it's holding you back from doing what you want to do. So that's why I make it just I try to do one a week. If ever it feels like it's a burden, or if it's something that feels like it's not fun, I take time off, and then I go back to it when it's fun. I try to keep in contact with my friends, but that's just me. I've occasionally seen drama in communities, so I have sort of gotten better at avoiding it where I see it. I spoke with someone else on drama, and they had talked about just feeling this almost compulsion to get involved when it came to those the trolls or the people that have these major unpopular differences of opinion. And I guess I could see how that could be difficult for a lot of people, but I do know that the more you expose yourself to it, the more you expose yourself to the opportunity that you'll do something, say something, or get wrapped up in something you don't want to or don't mean to. So, it requires either a remarkable amount of patience or a remarkable amount of restraint, and preferably a moderate amount of both will suffice. So that's my thing. I stay away from it most of the time, but I'm also a pretty patient individual. If somebody says something that is trying to get a rise out of people, I usually will just not care and scroll on, or I don't really scroll, honestly. I kind of look. If I get a notification that something that you or Thumb or Omega or Ash or Yugoslav or Celestial or someone that I know to some extent has gone live, posted a video, I want to show that support, but I'm not usually just randomly or mindlessly scrolling. That's just me. I'm not usually doing that, or at least I'm trying not to. I've done it once or twice, I think, where I'll scroll through because I'm looking for something specific and I end up seeing other stuff, but it's just me. That's just me. Maybe that's an unpopular thing to do. I'm sorry if I'm so boring, but I don't know how many lives you get. I do know I have one. I do know that with the one that I know that I have, at least at present, that I need to make sure that I'm happy through as much of it as I possibly can. Like anything else, I need to make sure that I am enjoying something that is finite while I have it. Sometimes that's money, sometimes that's safety, sometimes that's, the ability to run and jump, as those types of things. If those are all finite, then enjoy them while you have them, and enjoy them while you have them at their apex, and prevent anything you can from slowing or speeding up the degradation of those things. And mental health is one of those more ethereal concepts. It's so much harder to measure. In fact, sometimes I've across channels, gaming or otherwise, and I am intrigued by their content, but then sometimes see drama through scrolling. No, that's fair. That's very fair. Sometimes I've come across... Oh, that's fine. I understand the meaning, and that's kind of where it is. Like there is that kind of thing. Usually, that's I was talking about this. I think in brevity last stream is I'm just not a dramatic person. I'm me personally. Now I'm not saying that having been said, I'm not saying anyone should support me. I don't do this for support. I don't do this for subscribers. I don't do this for likes or shares or comments. I like comments when people will interact and kind of tell me what they do and don't like, obviously, but I don't do it for any of that. I do it the same reason that when I started it started recording for it literally 7 years ago. When I started, I've told this story before. I guess I'll say it again just because I want to go ahead and this is the reason I did it, and it's still the reason I do it. When I started recording for the channel, at least here in America, we were at our probably most divided in a long time, probably since the 1860s. People were committing, I'm not going to say hate crime or speech crime, people were actually committing physical assaults and doing awful, terrible physical things, not to mention the awful, terrible things that they were saying and telling people to do, both in chat rooms and face-to-face. And in the moments of that kind of division, I was seeing it in my workplace, I wanted to come back and find something nostalgic and that made me happy. And then I wanted to share that with other people. And it was me and my brother. We both had the same opinion. He was seeing it in his workplace. I was seeing it in my workplace. So we decided to start filming something that we shared in common that made us happy, video gaming, making random jokes, stupid jokes, and then put it out there. If somebody chuckled at a joke or smiled at a game, then we succeeded. That was literally all it was. And our divisions have gotten a little bit better. I mean, there's definitely some tumultuous stuff out there in the world, and certainly in America, but it's the same reason I do it now. It's something I enjoy. I'm sharing with other people, and I'm hoping that if they are stressed about something, upset about something, they'll come here, they'll spend some time with me, we'll have fun, we'll talk about stuff that doesn't really matter in the funnest possible way, and then you'll walk away 15, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, however long you're here with me, happier, or at least momentarily distracted from the things that were the things that were upsetting you. That's the entire reason I've done this. If my subscriber count goes to 0 or goes to 200, doesn't matter. It's never been about that. It's still not about that. But I also hold myself to that same rule of making sure that I don't get myself involved in things that make me unhappy, because it's not just about taking that unhappiness and spreading it to other people accidentally. I don't want to experience that. I'm almost distracted. The most important ranking in the galaxy. This here is Star Wars one. I got to say this last time. I was really excited about this. We went on this big cruise ship as we were traveling, and we were out to sea. The first place we were going was Roatan, Honduras, to do some scuba excursion, which was going to be super fun. I actually accidentally got myself injured a little bit out there, so that I'm overcoming that. It was super fun. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to heal up, and then I'm going to go try it again. I want to give it another shot. But just going out and swimming in the ocean was such a blast. I've forgotten how much I love swimming. But we had 2 days where we were just at sea. 2 days where we were at sea. We're on this boat with thousands of people. And we had a Star Wars competition where a fair amount of people, we were going to a formal dinner that night. So everybody comes in and they're doing the Star Wars competition, and people are in tails and tuxedos and, just these wonderful outfits. And we have it's a simple 15 question Star Wars trivia with all these people. And I was so impressed that Anna and I won out of all these people that are competing, we won the competition. They came up, they gave us certificates, which obviously is just pieces of paper. We're going to frame them because that was just super awesome. And they knighted us as Jedi Knights in the stage in front of everybody, which was really cool. It was they didn't actually I wish they would have pulled the saber and actually done the kneel down and do the knighting as the knighting ceremony is. They'll knight you. The way you're knighted in Star Wars is they actually take the lightsaber and they dub you like they would with the stereotypical English knighting, the sword on each shoulder. But then the Jedi Master whips the sword up and your Padawan braid comes off. If you have hair, if you don't have hair, it's made out of like Ahsoka's was made out of like metals and beads and things, and they chop the Padawan braid off in that last knighting. So would have been really cool. Obviously I don't have a Padawan braid, but but getting back to the ranking, I was super happy. I was super honored to do that. Ann and I are now officially Jedi Knights at the witness of like 8,000 other people. And honestly, what I want to do at one of these points in times, I'd love to go head to head against Sam Witwer, the voice of Darth Maul for the Clone Wars. He knows his stuff, and I think he would give me a darn good challenge on some of his little esoteric knowledge. I'd love to go head to head with him. But anyway, it's not about being the best. It was just a really awesome experience, and it was just such a cool moment that I got to share. So, all right, moving back to the ranking though. Star Wars, again, if you disagree, I'm throwing this back out there for anybody who sees this. I'm not going to be any big spoilers for especially newer content. If it's older content, something that's been out for several years and you've had opportunity, I might say some stuff. But anything that's new like Ahsoka, I'm not going to get spoiler territory. I'm just going to tell you what I thought about it. Wait, this isn't the new Super Mario Bros. 2. What am I doing here? I get whether you're adding that to this tier list or not. I tried to put it in the title. I was going to make a thumbnail different. I am going to play Super Mario Bros. 2 at the end of this, but I was just in such a Star Wars mood that I thought, I got to add the tier list. I just want to do this. I think it'd be fun, and I haven't done it with this. So I will play this, the new Super Mario Bros. 2. It'll be episode 2. It's a hack. I'll play it for a little bit. It's a ROM hack. It's really cool. Actually, had a lot of fun with it in the last stream, so I'm going to continue it. I'm going to try to pass it. It actually gets pretty complicated, though, I understand. So, Star Wars. What do we say? Okay, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Continuation of some really cool characters. We got to see Snoke do some cool stuff like ricocheting lightning. We get to see Kylo kind of the mask off. We get to see. That's kind of the cool parts. DJ was kind of cool. I like DJ. I thought he was neat, and that would have been cool to see him continue on. Benicio del Toro's character. But other than that, I think this was really just 2.5 hours of nothing. All of the missions that Poe and not Poe, excuse me, that Finn and Rose go on don't really hold any weight because they didn't know that Holdo was, and this is not, this is years and years, but they didn't know that Holdo was fine, and then Holdo, rather than telling Poe that he was okay or giving him a signal or something to trust him, despite his loyalty and having gunned down like 21 ships, she decides to hold it from the whole time, and then Leia, instead of hinting or cluing him in on it, decides to stun him, and it just a lot of it just seemed to not be really cohesive. I have a buddy who likes this movie quite a bit, and kudos to him. I'm just not a fan of it myself, so I am going to put this in D tier. All right. Next we have Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. I know a lot of people that hate this movie and actually think it's the worst of the three. I respectfully disagree. I don't think that this is a great movie either, but I have to look at the fun. There are some really cool moments about it, right? The story does not make sense at all. The fact that the debris and the dagger line up perfectly doesn't make any sense. Yes, that plan story didn't. Why write it like that? Exactly. That planned story, the whole still not seen episode. Okay, I because you say that, I will try not to be spoilery. Okay. There's a lot of things. There are a lot of things in it that don't make a lot of sense. The things I like are that it brings some of the Star Wars book canon Sith lore into it. I think that's really cool to have seen on screen. To be fair, I may never see it, so maybe wiki spoilers welcome. Okay, well, I'll keep it mild. I'll keep it as mild as possible. I don't know how much you know, so I'm gonna try not to spoil too much, but it brings a Sith dagger. Okay, it brings a Sith dagger into it, which is really cool to see the Sith on the big screen for once. I think that was super cool. Or Sith artifacts. We haven't really seen that. We've seen Dwardi, which we've seen in Episode 3 as statues, and then again in the Snoke series when he was wearing the Dwardi ring, that ring on his finger, which are the Dwardi. They don't go into detail on that at all. You had to expand on that somewhere else. There is a really, because I'm not going to give you full-on spoilers. If you don't see it, then you don't see it. But do you know who the main bad guy in it is? By chance? I will say that the main bad guy, while I don't like the way that they resolve it, and I don't like the way that they do what they do, there is a moment that I consider to be incredibly cool. Sorry about I heard the wind of that word in the microphone, but super cool. There is a moment, and I very much enjoy that moment. We also get to see... Well, there's a meme around the so-called bad ugly. If I'm right, I'm not sure. I'm not remarkably mimetic. With suddenly bad writing, somehow someone returned. Maybe. I mean that's an actual verbatim quote. I don't in the movie, so it is definitely suddenly bad writing. You can definitely tell that there was some damage control or some patchwork going into this. Somehow, okay. So you know who the big bad in this one. Somehow the big ugly returns. There's a really cool moment with him. We do get to see some force powers we've known about for years, like Force Drain. We first saw Force Drain in the Jedi Outcast games. We actually get to see it used in the movie. That was kind of neat. We see Force Heal, not in my favorite application, but that was pretty cool. The trailer said he would come back. I don't remember. I think the trailer had him laughing in the background. I think that was the clue. But I don't think everybody picked up on that clue. I could be wrong. And let's be fair, I am perfectly okay with him coming back. In fact, if we go back to the original, like the books that picked up after the original Episode 6 that used to be canon, that is the big bad for the next several years. It's just a much better, much more well-written, much more cohesive way to do it. In this case, they did not do it well at all. But they did do it... if they would have followed the books, I think they would have done a lot better. The point being, this has some really cool moments in it. It does have some questions that are answered. As a movie, as a movie and a Star Wars movie, it's not particularly good. If you are looking just for random, cool, off-the-wall, fun moments, this has it. I mean, and especially if you're fans of some of these characters, this has some of that. It's not particularly good. It's definitely below average, but I definitely don't think it's as bad or even less cohesive than this. I am going to probably unpopularly give it a C, and I promise you there will be more C's, and this will be at the bottom of those C's. This is it's either very low C or very high D, but I feel like the moments that are in there are cool enough. So, Star Wars Rogue One. Completely different cast. We get Chirrut Imwe, played by, what is his name? Donnie Yen. Good lord, I don't know why I couldn't remember him. He's amazing. We get Diego Luna's Cassian Andor. This is a spy thriller. It's not really Jedi, even though we do have two Force-sensitive Guardians of the Whills, which are expanded upon in the canon novels, and then on top of that, we also have the how do I want to say this? This is basically an eye wink back to the original title of episode 4, which had the wills mentioned in it. Okay, my general impression was that people thought 9 was worse than 8, or it's just 8 is bad. Okay, so yes, I would agree. I don't know why it has this here. It's got this little thing, and I can't read the full sentence. 8 is bad, fatigue or something. 8. Here's why I think that 9 is better than 8. Okay, 8 and 9 are both not particularly good movies. Okay, however, 8 does not have, in my opinion, any real redeeming moments that are any kind of cool either. It's got one moment that's kind of cool in it with Luke against Kylo. That was kind of neat. But the rest of that movie is just disappointment after disappointment. We don't get a payoff for most of that. If you take a look at the fight, even the fight against the Praetorians in the big red room is really lackluster. Like half of the Praetorians are just standing around. The Praetorian guards are just standing around waiting to get hit. I mean, the choreography wasn't even good enough to keep me excited. So that's where I got really disappointed. In 9, the choreography is not super good, but it's not that kind of bad, that level of bad. And there are moments in there, again, I won't spoil it, that in my opinion really are like, oh, I like seeing this character do that just one thing, but that one thing did this. It was great. So if you disagree, that's perfectly okay. I know you haven't seen 9, but if you watch it and you're like, no, 9 was worse. I mean, this is just my opinion, but you know. Still, you know what they say, 6 was afraid of 7 because 7, 8, 9. Fair enough. That's true, though, kind of, when you think about it. 7 is definitely the best. That's why I put it in B tier. I don't think it's the most perfectly average movie that Star Wars has had. Episode 2 is actually decent, but just disjointed, in my opinion. That's why it's there. But Rogue One, spy thriller, kind of explains some stuff. You get Mads Mikkelsen in there, which is always a bonus. Diego Luna, who is... I liked... The first time I saw Diego Luna, the movie I saw him in, I think, was Terminal 2004, which was a Tom Hanks movie. And I just thought his character was great, and then he acted and showed his versatility here. Rogue One is a great movie. You have the amazing Vader moment. Obviously, that was huge, and you get to see his eye wink through the whole thing. And despite the fact that digital actors were kind of new at that time, or a lot newer than they are now, seeing virtual Tarkin was incredible. Seeing young virtual Leia was amazing. I like this movie quite a bit. I think this is a solid movie. And I think the soundtrack is great. It's not John Williams, unlike all of the other ones that are up here. This is the first one that is Michael Giacchino, who did a phenomenal job. I think your father would be proud. Best track on that whole album. This right here is an A tier for me. It doesn't take these out for me, but it is definitely... I think it might be better than these for me, actually. Solo, the movie that nobody went to go see at the theaters, and I'm so sad about that. I'm so sad about that. So many people, when you were talking about the 8 is bad fatigue, this is what the biggest victim of the 8 is bad fatigue was the Solo movie. And that's a shame, because the Solo movie is actually a lot of fun. It's really nice. They show... You saw Solo... Oh, I see, I'm so happy to hear that. Everybody was boycotting Solo at that time. It was like, oh, I'm not going to go see Star Wars fatigue, and I get that. But Solo, they did a really good job, I thought. It had this kind of heisty vibe to it. You had a really cool non-Jedi character. Then you have a tie-in to another popular franchise that's going on at the end. You have the introduction of Solo and Chewbacca, and you actually get to hear him speak Shiriwook, which is the Wookiee language. I thought this was all around just a pretty darn solid movie. In all honesty... I really liked Donald Glover's take on... so I love Lando Calrissian. Like, I love that character. He's just this... He was always one of my favorites, just that smooth talking, even when he's getting choked by Chewie and Bespin. Just, he's such a smooth talker, smooth operator. Loved him. And Donald Glover did a great job of taking over for young Billy D. Williams. I think it was great. I also wonder if it was boycotted because Harrison wasn't in it. Like, really? It's young Han. What do you expect? Yeah. Well, at the same time, again, nowadays it doesn't make sense. I'll explain this in a later franchise that's on this list. It doesn't make sense that old Harrison couldn't be in it, especially now that we've had Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny just come out with Harrison doing his own stunts. But it was Aaron Aldrich. Is that how you say his name? Aldrich? I'm not sure. It's not Aaron, is it? What is that actor's name? I don't know that I've seen him. Is it Aaron? It may be. I want to take a peek at this so I'm not completely off. Alden. Good Lord, I got that completely wrong. Alden Ehrenreich. Anyway, Alden Ehrenreich. Whatever. I think he did a good job. Does he look perfectly like Harrison? No. Did he sound perfectly like Harrison? No. Did he have the correct swagger and mannerisms and confidence and cockiness and foolhardiness that Han has? Not Harrison, Han? Oh yeah. He did a great job, I think. And again, Billy D. Williams, Donald Glover as Billy D. Williams as just perfect. And it was good to see Woody Harrelson. It was good to see a fellow Texan in there doing some great stuff. I think this is a great movie. I don't know if I enjoyed it quite as much, and the thing that put Rogue One over the top for me was definitely the Vader's moment and the soundtrack, but I did enjoy it very, very much. I do like this actually quite a bit. You know what? I'm going to put, instead of doing this, I think I will put it, it's going to kind of be in the same place. I think I'm going to put it right there. The reason is I don't want it to, it's not, well, no, you know what? I'll put it right there. It was good. It was really good. I don't want it to be too much higher than this, but this is, while good, it's just it's fairly incohesive. This actually was a very cohesive story, so, you know. Clone Wars, the movie, not the series. 2008, I went to theaters to watch this thing, and oh my goodness. So much voice talent. They actually got Samuel Jackson back for Mace in this. Matt Lanner. I went for a moment there to do an audio edit, so I missed the part of the conversation. Oh, I was debating whether to put Solo in high B or low A, and I opted to put it in high A. I think it's lower than Rogue One for me because there were moments like the Vader moment, which was amazing, the soundtrack, which was amazing. I like that it's not really a happy ending. Episode 2 is perfectly average, I guess, but it's fairly incohesive, whereas Solo, while it's not the strongest of the movies, obviously, you can see, it definitely has a really good cohesive story. The actors do a great job. Soundtrack's not quite as strong. So I'm going to I was debating on whether to put it high B or low A. I'm going to opt for low A. I actually really like the movie. And I would argue it's an above average movie. I think it's quite good. But I was talking about Clone Wars 2008, the movie. I went and watched that. And James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Matt Lanner as Anakin Skywalker. Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano. But they brought back several of the other voice actors. They did bring back, of course, like I said, Samuel Jackson. I believe they actually got Sir Christopher Lee. I can't remember if they did for Dooku. I haven't seen the movie in a while. What I do remember is it was so much more kiddish after we had been exposed to movies like Episode 3, where it is much more adult-orientated. Then we end up going straight to this, even as an animatic. And we had already also had the Clone Wars two-dimensional animatic, which was arguably much more teen, young adult-orientated. Although there were definitely kiddish moments. 2008 was just very lackluster. I didn't hate Ahsoka right off the bat. I just didn't think the relationship she had with Anakin was characteristic of Anakin. He just seemed way too nice and, Snips and this. Even though that nickname has carried very well, it left a very bad taste in my mouth. So this is not good. It's still Star Wars. It's still cohesive. It's not good Star Wars, but it makes sense what they're trying to do. The story is at least intact. I'm putting it above this because the story wasn't even, the story in this is not even intact. This is 2.5 hours with an hour and 45 minutes of filler. This is like an hour 15, and it does set out what it's supposed to do, even if I didn't care for it. So that's my opinion. Clone Wars, the series, and this will be seasons 1 through 7. This is not controversial whatsoever. Boom. This starts off, it's got to be low S tier, but it is S tier. It starts off in seasons 1 and 2 kind of kiddish and kind of playing with themes. Season 3 kind of gets dark. Season 4 is like, Season 5 is like, whoa, wait a minute. And then by the time you hit season 6 and 7, it's bringing tears to adults' eyes. It's such a sad, dark, deep story of characters you've gotten to know over the course of these seasons. There are definitely, throughout the whole thing, there's definitely a couple episodes I would consider to be lemon episodes. There's one with I agree with my brother, there's one with a little general, some droids, a bunch of astromech droids, and that's the way that they're going to do this covert operation. It's kind of like, why? 2 episodes long, why? But there are several episodes that help expand on Dooku and how awesome he is, now voiced by Corey Burton. And Corey Burton's got this wonderful low, he made Christopher Lee's voice, he took what he liked of Christopher Lee, but then also took what he liked of himself, and he gives this very nice, very deep timbre to Count Dooku, and I just love it. And there are episodes like Heroes on Both Sides, like where they show Dooku is a not a bad guy. From like some people are saying, oh, he's a murderer and so on and so forth. Episode 2, Ki-Adi-Mundi says he's a political idealist, not a murderer. But if you look at the Heroes on Both Sides episode, there's a whole group of people who are just politically separatists that are good people that hold a different ideal for their planet. And I thought that was such a freaking cool concept. So, and that comes in, I think, season 2 or 3, I cannot remember which season, but any which way, like those episodes start off pretty big. The Mortis franchise, the Mortis trilogy, really pretty good, and there are more tie-ins to that. So I'm just super excited. Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, which came out in 2003 and 4, I think. I would consider this to be. I honestly would put this. I will put this in high B tier. There's some really, really cool episodes here, and they explain things like General Grievous is actually introduced in this series, and it shows Mace Windu crushing his chest plate, which is why he has his cough. You get to see Asajj Ventress for the first time, and I didn't realize how much I would like her until I read Dark Disciple. I think it was by Christie Golden who wrote that, but oh my goodness, that is such a good novel. If you want a good love story / dark story, it's definitely more adult. But if you want something that is sad and got romance, but is also super Jedi versus Sith, that is a very good. I've read that book a couple of times. I really, really like that book. And Asajj Ventress' character became super great, and that was the apex. Apparently, it was supposed to be in season 7 of the Clone Wars, but they cut it out, so it became a book instead. I would have loved to have seen it, though. But this one just has established so many cool things. It shows you the actual knighting ceremony. You learn about Dirge, which is this alien form that we don't get to see again until literally Jedi Survivor, who can regenerate themselves crazy things we get to see, crazy feats, wonderful things. But there are some funny episodes. There's some random droid wandering comedy effect, Dexter's Lab style episodes, and it makes sense. It's Genndy Tartakovsky. Not bad at all. Then we have The Bad Batch. The Bad Batch for me is, I would say, honestly, I would put Bad Batch somewhere here in mid A tier. The Bad Batch has kind of a weird taper. It starts off kind of like Clone Wars, very lighthearted in its mission, but it gets dark much quicker and it gets much darker. And it does a really, really good job about going after the Bad Batch here, which of course the Bad Batch are these quote-unquote defective clones. They didn't have Order 60, their Order 66 didn't go off like it was supposed to, and they're generally rebellious, and they're getting themselves involved in missions that it kind of shows you them going brother against brother when the Order 66 thing pulls, and it's actually really good. It is a little clunky. It can be a little fun. It's not quite Clone Wars, but my goodness, super great. If you want to sum up Clone Wars and Bad Batch talents, one voice actor, D. Bradley Baker, who plays literally all of the clones. Are there any Halloween-themed Star Wars stuff? Because I guess I'm really vibing with the horror games and films this month. Well, after I do my PAX vlog. Yes, there is. I'm going to recommend, if you're just looking for games and movies, I can't tell you. I can tell you shows and books. If you are interested, and you can get audiobook versions of them as well if you want. If you want to do books, which I'm thinking is the least, but if you are interested, there are two. One is called Red Harvest, and the other one is called Death Troopers. These are horror books from Star Wars, very adult orientated, and I'm not going to say why. Horror is definitely a theme. Watch Ahsoka. It's 8 episodes long. Each episode is between half an hour to an hour. Watch Ahsoka. The horror is there. I'm not going to explain anything else on that. It's great. It's really good. And I definitely want more. I'm so excited for when more comes. That's all I'm going to say. Star Wars Rebels. Star Wars Rebels was interesting. They kind of changed the animation style to make it a little easier, a little cheaper, a little more kiddish. This is actually really good. This kind of goes up at the top of my B tier here. No, you know what? I will put it under Clone Wars. Now, I'll put it right here. That's probably about right. Rebels is really good. Rebels is actually starts out again a little kiddish. That's kind of the theme. They start off kiddish and then they get darker. Not all of them, but they get darker, and it's really cool, actually. This one, if you are interested in watching Ahsoka, Rebels is actually the precursor to it. You should probably watch Rebels first if you're interested in all of the lore. It's really good, though. It's actually really good. It gets dark. It's really sad. It introduces, again, new concepts. This is one that I will not ruin because it has tie-ins with Ahsoka, and there are concepts that are only present in those two franchises, in those two sections of this franchise. So I'm not going to spoil a lot, only to say if you want to watch Ahsoka, you can watch Ahsoka just fine. If you are wanting the depth and detail and backstory of some of the lore of Ahsoka, watching Rebels will get you there. You should probably watch the Clone Wars and then Rebels and then Ahsoka if you really want the full thing. But if you're not interested in that, at least Rebels and Ahsoka. And if you're not interested, Ahsoka is great standalone. Just really good. I don't know what this one is. This one I didn't watch. This was intentionally a young kids one, so I'm going to put it at the very lowest of D tier, not because it's bad, but because it doesn't really interest me. It's definitely made to be much more kid friendly, and it's just not something I think would hold my attention. Even being Star Wars, there's nothing really advanced in that. Buffy had a quick Guess That Line game played by the two supporting characters. The response to the suggestion of use the Force, Luke, was, do I have to dignify that with a guess? There should be a notch. I tried. It didn't let me add one. I was going to add one, but it wouldn't let me add it in there. So that's why that's why I was trying to say at the anything I haven't watched. This is the only one of those that I haven't watched, and it's the only one of them that I haven't watched, and it's just going at the very bottom of the tier because it's not watched. Star Wars, it's very hard to find that for me, and so I did try to make the tier, but it just wouldn't let me, or at least I didn't figure it out. I'm not going to blame the tool, I'll blame myself. So I'll put it down there just because I haven't watched it, so I can't give it a fair rating. Mandalorian, I'm absolutely caught up on it, and I've heard a lot of people say that season 1 was great, and season 2 was great, and then kind of great, and then season 3 wasn't very good. There were definitely episodes in season 3 that I wasn't real keen on, but then there were episodes that I was remarkably just on the edge of my seat excited to see. There were interactions that I was excited to see. I would argue that season 3 is probably the weakest, but I don't think it's by such a substantial margin that it's easy to just say that. And Willow and Buffy said that line, I couldn't think of anything more. It's such a dumb game anyway. Nice. Said to that line, I couldn't think of anything. Oh, Willow said, yeah, okay, I was just saying, yeah, I couldn't think of it. Willow's, I can't think of her name. She's the host of Penn and Teller Fullest now. What is the, Allison something? Allison Hannigan. That's Willow. Okay, I couldn't think of anything more. Okay, I can see her saying that. That makes sense. I couldn't think of her name. Again, I'm not remarkably familiar. I've seen some. I'm not super familiar with Buffy, but I am happy to watch more because I love Vampire. I love Castlevania. That Willow. Okay, perfect. Well, when you first say Willow, just to throw this out there, when anyone says Willow, we have a cat named Willow, obviously for Buffy, but when I think Willow, I think of the movie the Willow from the 80s. That's usually what I'm thinking of. Use the Force, Luke. It's obviously not Star Wars. Your father wanted you to have this when you were... Oh, yes, the other one. That's a good Willow, though. It's a really good Willow. Your father wanted you to have this when you were older, but your uncle wouldn't allow it. Mandalorian, we have to average it out. And if we average it out, I think it's pretty darn good. I think it's pretty darn good. It was, I liked it quite a bit. I thought the story was good. I thought the characters were fun. It brought some really cool stuff back. It is, for me, the top of B tier. If I can get it to... Here, we'll switch these. There we go. Top of B tier for me. Very, very good. It definitely has some filler episodes that are less than interesting, though. But there was some really... The end of season 1 was amazing, so just, yeah, very, very good. Is the Modern Willow or whatever from recently any good? I've not seen it. I haven't seen it yet either. I wanted to see it really badly, but there's been so much Star Wars content that I've actually been able to keep myself fairly up to par with just that. And I don't have large amounts of time, so I've been able to, like, next week I'll be at a hotel and I'll catch up on probably some Star Wars books. And because I think I'm caught up with Star Wars Beyond that, I will try to catch up on some Willow. Because I bet you it's good. It's still got several of the same actors, which I'm super excited about too. So, but the movie was great. Then here we have. I'm trying to think of what this was called. I watched it through one, and there are a series of. What are they? What is it? What is it called? I can't even remember. But anyway, it's a series of. Non-connected visions, was it? I think it's Star Wars Visions. I'm not sure, but anyway, it was okay. For me, this felt like the kind of like the Animatrix. There's some episodes in there that are super awesome, but there's some episodes that are like whatever. It felt like the Animatrix. The anime. I don't know if you might remember these. You guys might remember these, but you would come into everybody were fans of the Matrix. The Matrix movies come out. They came out with the Animatrix. I think it was 2003 or 2004. They came out with the Animatrix, and it's these animated shorts that tied into the universe but weren't attached. And I think everybody really just remembers the 3D sparring session between the gentleman and the lady because they keep cutting each other's clothes off, and it was CGI for the first time, really kind of getting more and more nude and it was like nobody really remembered the other episodes. It was and nobody really remembered what that episode was about. It was just because that scene or this is kind of that way, except for it's not the appeal of sex, it's the appeal of the battle. And so like there's a really ancient, like very Japanese written Sith Lord, and he's older, and he's like that episode I thought was super cool. It pays great homage, but then other episodes are just kind of like conversations in traditional anime style, which doesn't feel like it kind of matches in or feels part of the Star Wars universe. That the episode that obviously I'm quoting doesn't save the entirety of it for me. So while I don't think it's bad, it is no, it's better than that. It's definitely just like as a whole below average. Book of Boba Fett, in my opinion, is also below average. I'm just gonna drag it up there. It's also below average. I'd put it at the top below average. Book of Boba Fett's fine. It doesn't do what I think. It doesn't make Boba Fett who I think or what I think Boba Fett should be. Boba Fett to me is a gun for hire, kills whoever he wants, loyal to the highest bidder. That's what he is. That's who he is. That's what he does. And I was really frustrated that they tried to kind of make him this anti-hero man of honor. I thought that was really disappointing. That having been said, he was still Tamara Morrison, who's great. To see Boba Fett, again, this is older, so maybe some spoilers here, but to see Boba Fett go through the training of the Tusken Raider and to earn the respect of a tribe and to be given his own gaffy stick, that was all super cool. That was all amazing. Seeing him try to establish his crime boss status and take out Bib Fortuna and all that, no, didn't care about any of that. There's also a Luke episode, a Luke and Ahsoka and Grogu episode, and it is Chef's Kiss. So I'm putting it in high C because I don't like what they really did to Boba Fett in the majority of it. But there is the Luke episode, which is brilliant. I mean, literally brings a tear to your eye for nostalgic purposes. They nailed young Luke. Just nailed him. And early Boba Fett, seeing him with the Tuskens was amazing. It could be technically low B, but I think ultimately what they did to his character overdoes the amount of good that there was. That's my personal opinion. You say Chef's Kiss better than I did when trying to describe on Vidi Plays what the atmosphere of the Planescape of the game Planescape Torment is like. I'll need to go and see if I can see that, if I can find that moment. Planescape Torment, though, good call. Very good call. That's a great game. I'll have to go and see. I try, this is a side note. I've been told this before. Obviously, I think that as Americans, we grow very, America, like any other territory, has a very, like, it has a plethora of, that was filmed years ago. I'm going to go look at it anyway, though. I love your content, man. I really do. Your content's fun. It's got enough tongue-in-cheek. There are innocent, there are guilty moments, and I think that they're great, all of them, so. Oh, if you don't mind doing that, if it wouldn't be out of your way, I'd love to. I will watch it, and if you don't mind, you don't have to respond. I'll shoot you a message, just a laugh or something once I see it, and let you know. I think it's, I appreciate that, though. But speaking of voices and articulation as it pertains to speech and as it pertains to ideas, I think as Americans, we become dissatisfied, maybe, with our voices, even though we have this wide range of accents. We have this wide range of accents and different ways to speak, and I think most Americans aren't particularly gifted at their speaking because I don't think they practice it because we understand each other, and a lot of people don't feel like it's necessary to have the words nailed down, which is perfectly fair. But I had an accent, and it was hard to understand in some instances. In some instances, it frustrated or annoyed people. And so I worked very, very hard, both under instruction as well as because I felt like I was being scrutinized, probably unfairly, to lose my accent and have as neutral of an American accent as I can. So I still have the accent that is generally American. I don't think that most people would pick me out as Texan. I've been to states that are not Texas, and the general populace that I speak with ask where I'm from rather than say, and when I say Texas, most of the time they say I wouldn't have guessed that. Because I've tried to be as neutral as I possibly can when it comes to speaking. And so part of that training was saying things that are difficult to say. Kind of like if I were a Scottish man, I would want to say purple burglar alarm with that accent and try to get that down, even though that in the Scottish tongue is a very difficult thing to say. Chef's Kiss is difficult to say. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers is difficult to say. I already messaged it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll give it a watch after this if that's okay. I'd love to see that. But so anyway, if you hear my voice, and again, if you hear the accent too, that's great. Me being articulate in my speech and the way that I talk is trained legitimately, and I mean this wholeheartedly, for the comfort of the listener. Not for this channel, because I started doing it a while back, but yes. Well, it's not Silent Hill scary, that Vidi Plays video. Very nice. Yeah, I saw some Silent Hill playthrough. I saw some Silent Hill gameplay. That was cool. I haven't seen that Silent Hill in so long. And we just got finished playing, speaking of spooky season, we just got finished playing the DLC for Resident Evil Village, the Rose, I don't remember what they call it, the Winter's expansion, I think is what they call it. Really nice, actually. Very good. Not, actually, you know what? I'm wrong. I was going to say not particularly startling, but there is a moment in there that is actually pretty startling. Everybody kind of knows the big startling house in Resident Evil Village, the Beneviento mansion. It does a good job. It's not the same, but you do go back. The thing with my speech is, well, it's not perfect. No one's is. But I had speech therapy for quite a while, just to add to how our voices are perceived. I like your voice, though. I think your voice comes through very you do have, obviously, an Australian accent, if I may say, but you come through very clearly. Your tonality is great. You're easy to understand, and honestly, you have a pleasant, if you don't mind my saying, you have a very pleasant voice to listen to. Not just the way that you speak, but the tonal quality, the accent. It's got kind of a gentility to it that I think is very approachable for the ears. So I would say that if that is due to your speech therapy, great, but there are natural tones and timbres that I feel like are also contributing to the pleasantness of your voice. I really do mean that. I listen to channels, but there aren't very many channels that I listen to that I'm like, oh, the voice is really pleasant. Like I liked to listen to the Game Grumps or JonTron. They're not particularly great voices. Oh, yeah, Danny's voice is kind of nice. It's just gentle, but then it's very difficult when it's very difficult to say that those are pleasant voices when you listen to maybe like a Markiplier or an Epos Vox. You know, those guys who have these really nice booming voices that have these very deep timbres to them. You know, hello everybody, my name is Markiplier. You've got this just kind of, you know, like that's a hard voice to forget. Yours is in that line, though it's not that same for that same reason. Yours is in that line. It's a very unique but memorable, pleasant voice. Anyway, I hope that that's okay for me to say. That's just my opinion, my perception, but I think it's quite nice. I'll jump back to this and try hopefully not to embarrass anyone any further if I have embarrassed you. I hope that the pleasantries of my voice do show. It's representative of, as you and Ash say, trying to be a sweet guy. Not always easy to be a sweet guy, but then we all know that when trying to talk with people. No, that's true. I don't want... It's really hard to do. The reason I'm saying it the way I am, and I don't want to tiptoe around it per se, but is... A lot of people have warped things. Like, you do seem like just such a nice guy. It is hard to be a nice guy. It's hard to be happy all the time. It's hard not to get angry at people, or it's hard not to snap or to retort at people. I agree. But you have a personality that seems... Let's be clear. Ash is phenomenal. I love Ash to pieces. He's a friend. But Ash has no problem speaking his mind, even if it is the most abrasive. He has no problem being sandpapered to your grain. And that's respectable, and that's a quality that I think I admire about him, but at the same time, it does also prevent him from having this more approachable nature like you do. So you guys are great balances. And of course, I mean no insult to either of you in this. But I think so many people have taken those spectrums and made them so negative. Like, oh, if this person's willing to speak their mind bluntly, then they're automatically a jerk. But if this man is willing to be sweet or nice or kind, then he's automatically weak. And so that's why I try to be very clear and let you know that I think that you both embody those polar opposite sides of the spectrum in your speech, but I think that you embody only the positive characteristics of that. I admire the fact that you sound so nice and polite and approachable, and I want to try and be a little bit more like that in my speech, because I'm not quite as soft-spoken. My voice isn't necessarily quite as approachable. But I also respect Ash's ability to just speak what he believes and with deep conviction. And that's a thing that, you know, I probably also could be better at. So it's different skill sets that we appreciate with no detriment to it. Please understand that. Yep, I don't normally get angry, says the occasional Let's Player rage from me. That everybody does, I understand. I think if I ever do get angry, I'm really surprised at myself at that time. No, that's fair. I would be surprised, although I expect that it happens because it's human. It would be shocking, I think, if I ever got to see it. And I would hope never to be the cause of it, but I absolutely would understand it. It's just out of what I would consider to be the character that you are or have been the character you portray in front of us. And I'm not saying character as a persona. I'm saying character as who you are, who you've been as we perceive you or have seen you so far. That's true. The trying to be nice personality can be exploited or manipulated at times by people with contrast to the more direct, blunt sort of personalities. And both of them are considered negatively and positively. So I want it to be clear that when I am saying it, I'm saying it with positive connotation. I think. I'm sure you'll never be the cause of it, as a compliment to say as well. Well, I hope, I certainly hope not, but I try not to be abrasive. I don't mind speaking my mind. The goal that I've tried is balance. I want to speak clearly, and I want to speak bluntly, and I want to speak plainly. But I also believe that there, especially with the English language, whether it be vestigial or not, are so many words that we can use to make a sentence more palatable, even if it's a direct contradiction, right? If Ash came up and we had an argument, I want to be eloquent in my disagreements, but also firm in my disagreements. And so that's the thing. The firmness of his disagreeableness in that instance is his strength. I would want to supplement that strength with the eloquence of your speech to make myself much more well-rounded. Now, of course, I don't think Ash and I would get in that kind of argument. I'm a disagreeable person as it comes to things that I'm passionate about, but I also am not going to cause any person any major problem if it's not worth that kind of a fight, like disagreeing over silly things like games and movies. Is that also to do with honesty? Because I've thought occasionally in recent months about why we have to lie quite a bit in life. But I guess we have to hide what we think and feel from others at times. I don't like... I think people have made it more acceptable. I think people have made lying more acceptable. I don't think... You say that we have to, and I don't think that that's the case. I think that we feel that we have to, because people can be much more easily offended nowadays, I feel like, again. But I'm also, me personally, I'm also not willing... Let me put this up. I'm not willing to lie to make another person happy if the potential of the lie will make me upset, whether that be at my integrity or at my unwillingness. Like there you can speak honestly and also plainly. Is that how to say, or politely? If your wife comes in and says, "Does this make me look fat?" Most men would say, "Oh, no, just say no." And some men would say, "No, you just tell her if it does or doesn't." But my response to that question would be, why would you ask me that question? Like, why does that matter? That, like, I there's no right answer I'm going to give. If I tell you no, you'll disagree with me. I'm not saying Anna would do this. My wife is great, but I understand this trap question has been kind of... And you say, instead of... You say, why would you ask me that question? Right? There's no right answer. If I say no, you'll tell me I'm a liar, and you'll say what you think. Or if I tell you yes, you'll be upset with me. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer. There's just no good way for me to do... I will try to be as clear and honest as I possibly can. That's my approach. And sometimes that means honestly not answering questions. That's just me. I try to avoid, as much as I can, I try to avoid lies. It doesn't necessarily mean I do. I mean, obviously everybody has these little white ones that slip up, but I try not to. Oh yes, the usual, does this make me look fat question. Then again, my response is along the lines of my sense of fashion is so bad. So if you like how it looks and fits, I like it too. And bias too. Yeah, of course. And you're probably not going to think your wife does, and your wife is probably going to think that she does, because residual self-image is oftentimes not accurate. It's much more negative, and other people's perception of you oftentimes is much more positive. So it's not fair to ask a question like that. But I try to avoid it if I can help it. I try to be as honest as possible and as straightforward as possible. So, I consistently work on verbal tact. My objective in speech is to become I want my speech to become one of the most articulate, elegant tools period, because everyone has to use it. Excuse me. And so when people speak with me, I practice every possible scenario and speaking off of the cuff and understanding the flow of what I'm saying, the tonality, and I kind of practice this constantly, especially when I'm driving and traveling. Others have a better sense of fashion than me. I'm more along the lines of it can look just okay and fit and be practical more than anything. Also, were we talking Star Wars again? Whoops. No, it's okay. I'm happy to take time just to talk on subjects like that. I think that's great. I will get back on Star Wars, just so as not to distract you too much. I did adjust my seat, so let me adjust the microphone. Sorry if you hear some handling noise. This microphone is supposed to be really good for handling noise. I hope the microphone sounds good. Like I said, I'm on this microphone from literally the 1970s. I thought it was so cool to have this. Electro Voice RE50 from the 1970s. Star Wars Resistance doesn't really do anything that I would consider to be particularly great or bad. It tries to establish some backstory and fill in some plot holes. A microphone test sounds good. Good. Yeah, I thought, why not? It's a dynamic microphone, which I normally don't use. I normally use condenser microphones, but I thought this would be cool. I got 4 of them. I got 4 of them. They got these giant metal boxes, and it's the kind of, I think it's just a slightly little brother it's older but little, to the Electro Voice RE320, the one that everybody wants to use for podcasts. But personally, I kind of really like the sound of it. So if you guys like it, I might keep using it. It keeps the echo out of the room. The condenser mics pick up the echo a lot worse. Resistance to me felt like kind of a kid's show crossed with someone trying to fill plot holes and trying to fill gaps that were not filled appropriately in the movies, that were multiple billions of dollars more than it cost for this to be made. I was not particularly impressed with it. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't great. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Kenobi I like. I think a lot of people like it. Kenobi was very short. I think people like Kenobi because Ewan McGregor came back, obviously. This is a little bit older again, so mild spoilers here, but obviously you have Vader and some really awesome moments and some really sad moments in this. This was good. But then we had like episode 3, which was a rehash of something that you already did in Jedi Order. The video game, by the way. And I was just like, it felt like there was some repeat in it. So I think this is really good. I think it could have been a lot better. I was a little disappointed with some of it. And then it doesn't line up with some of the canon. So Obi-Wan Kenobi in canon isn't actually a particularly gifted Jedi in the Force. He was actually considered to have gone, or supposing to have been a part of the Jedi Agricultural Corps because of him being not particularly gifted in the Force. And then he starts pulling a raid. Granted, he should be able to do that, but he's stretching old muscles way too quickly, and they almost kind of Gary Stew'd him. So, even though I love Obi-Wan Kenobi, they pushed it too quickly. I think this should have been, an 8-episode thing and just spend some time and stretch it out a smidge. That having been said, they actually did really good stuff. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of great music to it. Ewan McGregor's performance is phenomenal. Vader, Hayden Christensen's performance is absolutely great. And then they do tie up some really nice extra lore. So I will put this at the very tip top of B. I will even put this above Mandalorian. Andor. Oh my goodness. Andor was actually something I didn't have. I had just neutral hopes for. I was just, it was B tier or something. And I watched it and I actually really like this. And they have little eye winks to things. Like he's carrying, this pistol is the Briar Blaster pistol introduced in Star Wars, the Star Wars video game from 20 years ago. Star Wars Jedi Knight, again. That's the Briar Blaster pistol that Kyle Katarn used. They also show Starkiller from The Force Unleashed. They show his dark side armor. Just so many cool, just spy thriller style back and forth. And then there was the prison episodes, and they were so good. And they bring back the wonderful Andy Serkis, or they bring back the wonderful Andy Serkis, but he's not playing Snoke this time. He's actually playing his own character, and it's so good. This is absolutely A tier. And I will actually put it, this is pretty good. I think I'm actually going to put it right here. think I'm going to put it right there. That is super good. It did everything that episode 1 did in establishing a political climate and understanding the politics of it, but during a different time frame, and it does it without the monotonous tone of episode 1. It actually does a really good job of filling that in. And it's funny, I did say this before, if there are points where the Empire are this is not a spoiler, the Empire are sentencing people. That's kind of what the Empire does. And they're stamping these sentences, and they're in Arabesh. So, by the way, if you don't read Arabesh, you may not have thought to pause and try to translate these. My phone is in Arabesh. All of the text messages that I get, the emails I get, my YouTube feeds, all of my social media feeds are in the written Star Wars language, Arabesh. Okay? So I read Arabesh very, very well. I read it and write it as well as I do the alphabet, if you can believe that. With the exception of the Arabesh letter Z, which I have a little trouble with because it's like a little L with a little arm in the middle of it that goes down. But anyway, point being, I read Arabesh almost as well as I read English, and I read it as frequently as I read English because, again, all of my text messages and emails come in Arabesh. So I'm reading this feed in English. If my wife sends me a text, I will get it in Arabesh. So I read them side by side. And it was really funny to see what these little things, they would tell you out loud what the sentence was and for whom, but then you would actually see the stamp and you would just assume that that was the citation that they were stamping. And it wasn't. It was a completely different name, and the crimes were all funny. It's like random illicit use of force in a public space or something. It's almost being treated like public urination. Very, very funny. But the episodes were serious. Diego Luna just nails his part. The Andy Serkis episodes are freaking fantastic. I mean, this was a good series. This was a good... And Mon Mothma, whoever her actress, whatever you want to call them. Great job. This was a good series. Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Jedi is 6 episodes long. I think they're going to have a second one. 3 episodes go over Ahsoka Tano, and it covers her early life before coming to the Jedi Temple, as well as some of her kind of post-end episode 7... season 7 stuff. The one I was most interested in was the Dooku stuff. It actually covers young Dooku, with young Qui-Gon Jinn. You actually get like 12-year-old, 14-year-old Qui-Gon Jinn with young, non-bearded, brown-haired Dooku. And Dooku having become one of my favorite characters, starting with episode 3 and then ramping up heavily in the Clone Wars. I was super interested, and this did not disappoint. This did a great job of really making me feel for Dooku. So Ahsoka I like Ahsoka's character very much. I think she's great. But I wasn't super curious about where she came from, because we kind of see her fairly early on in life. We get introduced to her in the Clone Wars in 2008, and she's, at that time, I think she's 14. So we really didn't have all that much. You have to assume that she's probably, you have to be a part of the Jedi Temple, and you're kind of old if you're picked up at the Jedi Temple at like 3. Usually you got to be like a baby, maybe 1, maybe 2. 3's kind of old, 5's way too old, and then in the case of Anakin, who's the oldest, it's like 9. So I wasn't really all that interested, because I figured she was just training as a Padawan for literally 14 years. This does give some extra highlight to it. It was a little less, it was more interesting than I thought it was going to be. But the Dooku stuff shines. This is great. This is A tier. But because I was only I was more half invested. Again, nothing against Ahsoka, but this side right here, I can't fill it in good conscience. It goes in good conscience. It should go any higher than this. I actually like it more than I like Kenobi though, because it covers, both of these are material that we didn't know about. They do a good job of this, fleshing it out. The pacing is good, and it's all history. It's told like history, right? This is the future, and it kind of ramps up real quickly. This is told like a history book. It's really nice. Super, super especially sad if you've read books like Cavan Scott's Dooku, which is canon, Master and Apprentice, again, which is goes over, it's Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan for the most part, but it does talk about Dooku through the eyes of the apprentice Qui-Gon and another apprentice that Dooku had named Rael Averross. Very, very cool. Like, he's kind of the cool guy. Rael Averross is like the cool guy's Jedi. Like, he smokes, and he's kind of promiscuous and sleeps with random women, and he's got like the long hair and 5 o'clock shadow, and he's kind of the bad boy Jedi. And he's got like the voice of him when you see the audiobook version, which Jonathan Davis is kind of got this drawl like this, and it's cool character. But anyway, you get to see Dooku through the eyes of a much more somewhat straight-laced, rebellious Qui-Gon, and then a completely unhinged Rael Averross. Really, really cool. And then we have Ahsoka. This is the most recent, so I'm not going to go into spoiler territory for this, except for to say that one of the best actors sadly passed away. This is a very intriguing series so far. I'm going to be rating it just based off of the first season, which is completed as of this past Tuesday. Episode 8 came out. It is the final episode of the season, and we probably won't get season 2 for another couple of years. We probably won't see season 2 of Ahsoka until at least 2025, maybe even beyond. Things like the writer's strike, as well as, again, the death of Ray Stevenson, have slowed that down substantially. So you should have, if you haven't already, plenty of time to catch up on it. It's good. It's very good. It does have things that I disagree with. I'm not going to go into detail. It has some things I disagree with as far as Star Wars canon, as far as progress and time frame. But Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka does a phenomenal job. There are other characters that they bring from other franchises for their first time that haven't yet been in live action that do a great job. The story is pretty well on par. There is one of my absolute favorite characters in the Star Wars universe that will make an appearance in this. And then there are some new characters in this that we've never seen before, and I really, really like them. And there's a ton of I-Wings. So I like Ahsoka a lot. It is not yet S tier. For me, there's a lot of good, there's some bad, and there's too much unresolved. So I will put this for just now at the top of B tier. However, this is contingent on... This can move up or down depending on where they go. This is so far incredibly good for what I've seen, but too much of it has gone unresolved for me to know. There is a very big chance that this will turn super awesome, and I could even consider it an S tier like Clone Wars, but there's also some stuff I've seen that's concerning that could really ruin this for me too. That could put it down here. So Ahsoka, I'm going to put at the very top of B tier right now. I don't think it's established itself as well as this one. I also don't think it has, but I do think it's established itself so far in pacing, at least, slightly better than this one. I'm not going to spoil anything else. I'm not going to say anything else. I think the actors are great. I think they've done a wonderful job. I will say, if you want to watch Ahsoka, I recommend seeing Star Wars Rebels first. There are 4 seasons of it. There's a lot of characters that will have some significance in this through storytelling or otherwise. At least you'll have an understanding of what the climate was like politically and the like. Again, not spoiling anything here. If you really want to know and kind of trace down the rabbit hole, there are some things, especially as you come later, that you won't understand unless you understand the Clone Wars and the history therein. Some things about Ahsoka, some things about the world in general. Again, completely 30,000 foot, so you won't have any spoiler. If you've watched Clone Wars and Rebels, jump right into Ahsoka. If you don't want to do that, it's not necessary, but you won't catch some of the tongue-in-cheek pieces that are in there, and some look like they may actually become substantial or significant. So, this is my ranking. I think this is a pretty good ranking so far. Obviously, most of them fall in A and B, which makes perfect sense. This is generally what a distribution is going to look like when you're looking at averages, right? I mean, technically, if we wanted to follow the law of averages perfectly, one of these would be in the B category to make it perfect, right? If I put this here, this is, perfect. This is what a bell curve would look like, but this does belong up here. Yeah. So this is what I would say. I mean, this is still pretty well a bell curve. This is what I would rank things at as I've seen them so far, with the exception of this one right here, Resurrection. It looks like I can't tell if that's what that says. I have not seen this, so it is down here. I'm not saying it's bad. This is the only one I haven't seen. It's down here for that reason. All of the rest of these, I think I can say with some utility, are really, at least by my estimation, should be here. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's pretty cool. I am curious for any of those that see this, whether it be during the stream and they happen to catch up, or you see it after. I'd really love to hear what you think about this, whether you disagree or agree, why you disagree and agree. I love debates about Star Wars. I'm not interested in creating a fight or fighting with you about it. Obviously, I respect your opinion, but I'd like to know your perspective. And I can tell you mine. I have a buddy. He comes on here. I think it's about 600 Ewoks. I think I got that right. He comes on here on occasion. He's very knowledgeable in Star Wars. He's one of those people that I can talk deep lore with, and he gets it just no problem. And I think he has some disagreements with what I have on this, but we've talked about several of those, and it's just great. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over. Let's go ahead and fade the music out. Now we're back to the Mario, so I'm being completely, look at that, completely on par. I'm going to go ahead and X out of my tier maker because I can release the RAM. Why not? And we'll put this up here, and then I'll switch over to Mario, and I'll play it for just a little while. Let's see if I can get over here. There we go. One second. I'm just going to adjust the microphone so it more comfortably fits here. Using a dynamic microphone's a little trickier because with dynamic microphones, there we are, you have to have them right up on your mouth. Like a condenser microphone, normally I'll have it about 4 inches away from my mouth and I can be off center. Dynamic microphones are a little trickier because you kind of got to be right up on them. So like I've got the microphone maybe an inch from my mouth. And if I get off kilter too much, you just can't hear what I'm saying, or it sounds really muddy. So, all right. So we'll play a little bit of Mario. I want to go ahead and rehash. This is a ROM hack, so this is not an official Mario game. This ROM hack does require. Let me go ahead and change this so I can see it a little bit better. Oop. This Mario ROM hack does require you to have basic knowledge of how to do ROM hacking, which is incredibly easy with programs like LIPS, which is Lunar IPS Patcher, or Multi-Patcher for the Apple computers, rather. Basically, what you do in these is you come into the... you grab yourself... again, I'm going to say you should probably own Super Mario World. Most people do. Then grab yourself a clean file, a ROM of Super Mario World. Grab yourself the patch that I have put down in the description. This is by, what is it, Peach Gold, I think? And all you do is run it through Lunar IPS or Multi-Patcher and allow it to go ahead and digitally sign itself. Drag and drop that into your emulator ROM folder of choice, and you can now play this with all new music, all new stages, and I gotta say, this is a phenomenal ROM hack. So let me see where I left off here. I believe I'm not playing this on a PC, so just because of the way that I like to do, if I have to do emulation like this, the way that I do it is with an actual SNES controller. So I am using an actual SNES controller. It does not mean I will be any good at this. Just gonna throw that out there. Wooden Works, I think is where we are. Okay, let's get a feel for this. This is also a little... I don't know why it is a smidge delayed. Very, very slightly, just enough to kind of be confusing. Let me turn this game audio down a little bit in my headphones. The music is super... the music is charming, I think. Okay. I don't know where... now, in some instances, I know the music comes from other places. But I don't... This sounds like it may have... Oh! Okay, that was scary. Who was the guy who... Like, I didn't expect a buzzsaw to come out of there. Okay. Okay. Also, the platforms are a lot slipperier. They're more slippy. I'm not gonna chance that I slip. So, like, if I want this coin, I hit that, and then all of a sudden, chops the... Okay, that's cool. It's a cool mechanic. Okay. It's a cool mechanic. Honestly, this is a really cool mechanic. Like, the levels are done so remarkably well. This feels like something that could have been in Mario. Okay, I don't know what this IFO means. I'm assuming I can't... I mean, it's translucent, so I'm assuming I can't stand on them, but... It's also not a colored block like I normally have, because we saw the colors for those. Oh, but it can be on those. Okay, so I understand now. Those are invisible blocks that they can be on, but I can't. Okay, okay, all right. I get it now. Oh, shoot, I went too fast. It's like a Sonic the Hedgehog moment. Okay, so my best guess is that I need to release the Kraken. What? Oh, he woke up. Okay. Ah! Everything about that was wrong. I made it, technically, but oh my gosh. Yeah, of course time's running out. These are on weird timers. Okay, so it's on the IFO track to make sure it chops all the wooden blocks. I understand. I almost hit the blade instead of the ticker tape there, the break the tape for the end line there. So, there we are. Also, same situation as normal Mario, is the red ones have secrets. If you see the little keyhole up there by the name, then you know it has a secret. Tidal Falls. This is, like, where Soda, kind of the Soda Lake feeling area, so I'm a little worried. See, like, this song, I'm fairly certain is from something else. I'm not sure what. It feels like maybe a Kirby thing? But I don't know Kirby well enough to say that for sure. It feels like something like Kirby wakes up. It's almost like, it's not a gourmet race, but you get my... In that same vein. I love these, those little Triceratops things. They pop up in Chocolate Mountain in the original. And then you bop them on the head, and then they turn into little ones, and they open up and they turn into little torches. Or they... Ah, shoot. They will shoot fire if you don't jump on them quickly enough. If you're not lined up, they will shoot fire. I just... okay, sorry. Okay, I've just got to add a few stills, and the Buffy review can be rendered. Yeah, you're editing, by the way. You do so much editing work. Like, it's clear to see why you're back and forth busy. Like, your videos are great. I hadn't put nearly that kind of editing into any project until this KOTOR review I've been working on. Also, this looks fun. This is really good. This feels... Oh, shoot! Okay, well, this is worse for me, actually. I thought it was going to be good. This feels like it could have been made by Nintendo. The levels are actually super good. I look forward to your KOTOR review. Thumb had a good idea, and it's taking me time. It's taking me extra time, but I think he's exactly right. The review is going to be about an hour and a half long. And he had the idea of breaking it up into maybe 3 pieces. The problem is, in order for me to do that, I want to make sure that the pieces that I break it up into are interesting, and they have good cliffhangers, and they're cohesive, and they answer all of the questions, you know? So I'm breaking them up. I've broken them up into 30-minute areas, but I don't feel like the transitions are solid enough yet when it comes to how I transition from talking about characters and introduction to characters and gameplay to soundtrack and all that. I don't feel like it's cohesive enough yet. Okay, there we go. Well, it's not being made by Mario Maker 1 because the Wii U Online stuff is dying next year or something. Which is so sad because, I mean, of course, it's not that big of a deal for Mario Maker just because I feel like that some of the appeal, at least for me, is being able to make levels that someone's literally just sitting there and playing with you. You know, you hand the control, you make the level, and then you hand them the controller, and you say, oh, "There you go. What are you gonna do now?" Ah! Oh yeah, you can wall jump in this one. Sorry, I didn't mention that. I didn't know how far down that was gonna go. You can wall jump in this one, so that has saved my bacon a time or two. Oh, that was what I wanted to know, is where he went. Boy, he is tenacious. But we also have Mario Maker 2, and it is technically superior. I mean, it's superior in the technical way, not that it's like some people think it's superior versus others. So I'm not too unhappy about that. Luckily, they didn't lean in too heavily into the online on the Wii U. They had it and it was good, but then they didn't lean too heavily where it was like, oh, okay, you're losing complete. Like, there were games like MAG for the PlayStation 3. I'm sure you probably, if you didn't play it, you probably at least remember it, but there was this game called MAG that you could play for all of a little while. You'd pay the full price for it, but you could play it for literally just all of a little while. And then once the offline servers went on, that game was just rendered no good. I did play a bit of Smash Wii U Online. Yeah, and that was good too, but luckily Smash is, again, great couch co-op. A lot of people have lost me personally, I think a lot of people have lost, not the interest in, but they don't get out anymore to try to play couch co-op with anybody, or couch versus even. It's all got to be online. And don't get me wrong, I think it's convenient. It was certainly convenient for the pandemic years, but so far, I mean, I've honestly had a lot of fun. You know, if I can, I haven't particularly this year, but just having friends over to play games couch co-op or couch versus. Anna and I look for those all the time. We don't want to have to buy 2 copies and then play. We don't have to buy 2 copies and then play them in 2 different rooms. We want to kind of just sit next to each other and play a game. Boop. Aw, man, I missed him. This is Mario Sniper here. Oh, I thought it was a Monty. Oh, it is. It's one of. Oh, it's the little cute gophers. Eh. Those things are adorable. I know I missed that. Outside of Viddy Plays and even playing a bit of a quick bit of Diddy Kong Racing at PAX. If I was a kid, if I was a kid again, kid with an N64 again. I love Diddy Kong Racing. I'm with you there. I should play it. I have it here. I have it in box. I bought my. I'm a nerd. I actually have a freaking in-box copy. These guys are. Oh, I didn't know it was gonna hit there. Dang it. Okay. They're adorable though, aren't they? Like he's like, eh. And then he pops out, and I bump him on the head. Bop him on the head. I was trying to say bump and bop at the same time, and I failed. Diddy Kong Racing. I remember Diddy Kong Racing being super fun back when I would play it in the 90s. Like, it's just, oh, this is great. I also like that they're bringing a lot of those back. Like, dang it, I didn't realize he hurt you if he was there. Like Diddy Kong Racing is one. They brought back Turok though as well, the Dinosaur Hunter, and you can now play that on Xbox in like HD and everything. It's pretty great. So I'm very happy that they're giving those resurgences. Mario bumps and bonks them probably. Probably so. That's a good point. Those are probably the right sound effects, I'd imagine. Those little gophers that throw those rocks are super cute though. It's like, eh. You can tell the effort they're putting. Those rocks are heavy. Okay, this is a boss level, I believe. See, I like this music. This sounds like, one of the songs in Speedy Gonzales, Los Gatos Benditos. Which is an actually decently fun. It's not great, but it's a decently fun SNES game. And we have. Oh, wait a minute. Uh-oh, this is not the same sound effect. These are the Yoshi's Island sound effects, I think. Hold on, I want to see if that pipe I can go in. Maybe. Yeah, those sound like the Yoshi Island coins. Why did the sound effects change? Well, thwomp. That's a thing. Ah, dang it. Okay. Seriously, I thought the music was the opening to Chrono Trigger's To Faraway Times. The music is great on this. It's I don't know where all it comes from. Like, it's definitely Some of it, you know, like the title theme comes from Crash Bandicoot, I know for a fact. But I'm not sure where this one's coming from. I don't know. I don't know why the sound effects changed randomly. I don't know. Is that a glitch on my side, or was that intentional? I have gotten Yoshi. So this is a little difficult. Like on the other ones, you probably did this too. You would go and you would get wall jumps can be finicky sometimes. Just say it. They're okay sometimes, but sometimes they're a little finicky. What was I saying? Oh, there was a like you used to, at least I would. You would go get a Yoshi. You'd be like, oh, this level would be easier if I had Yoshi, and then you go get a Yoshi at another level. This doesn't allow that. Once you finish the level with Yoshi, the next level does not spawn your Yoshi. You either get him or you don't. Okay, I see where I'm meant to go. Super Mario Bros. 3 Warped. Had to reference that game. Is that where this is from? The song, or... I almost fell off. Is it wanting me to go that way, or is it wanting me... I think I'm supposed to... Ah, really? Hype jump. As in Crash 3, but yeah, I don't know. Fair enough. I see what you're saying. I see what you're doing. The origin of the music. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Well, this is like people that do the pizzas. That was a good statement. Okay, I was hoping that was going to be a vine, because if it was going to be a mushroom, I was going to be a little upset. I could spin jump. I'm not going to. The platforms are just too slippery for me to rely on the spin jumping on these saws. Like, it's doable, but when you're in the middle of a perilous fall, doesn't make sense to do the spin jumps, because, again, the platforming on this, I think, is intentionally made to be slightly more slippery. So even though you're playing as Mario, it feels more like playing as Luigi. But apparently that's now not an option. Yep, see, slippery. I did it still, but slippery. This one I can just make the jump. Thank goodness. I thought you were almost going to do the voice... hold on. I thought you were almost going to do the voice. A game created and... I could. 2024. A new game developed by Naughty Dog. Super Mario Bros. 3 Warped. I don't know what he would do in that game. You know. Get in a go-kart and ride as fast as you can against a pissed-off son in Super Mario Bros. 3 Warped. Coming soon to a theater near you. I don't know. Every time I think of Mario 3, I think of the freaking angry son, and then that's what I... It's got a warp whistle mentioned in a movie before the game would have even come out. How the heck did he know the warp whistle was even there? I don't know. Starring that one kid from the Wonder Years. Fred Savage, I think his name. Mario Wonder might be... Oh, I saw that, and I saw that as Mario Wonder Years. Might be well as Mario Warp. Spoiler, that was a fun PAX demo. Oh, I'm excited about it. I like the Mario games. They're not always very different or diverse, but I do enjoy a lot of them. I don't necessarily need a ton of diversity. I mean, if it works, I don't... A lot of people just, they're always demanding. It's like, oh, it's got to be different. And me, I'm just not that way. I'm like, look, if it's fun and it works, I could do it 1,000 times and I'm okay. Like, you want to consistently be stimulated in different ways, that's fine. But, I don't need it. I think that I just accidentally didn't get hit. I'm fairly certain that even ducking wouldn't have saved me. I don't know where we're going. Up, I guess, but is the answer. But Okay. Really? That was a lot of progress lost just there. I don't know why I had to yell like Hank Hill, too. Whoa! Okay. Nope, it does miss me. That's fine. I got 30 seconds, so either I make it or I don't. Live free or die hard. Always wondered what that actually meant. Dubious proposition at best. 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 7 seconds. I'm doing it. It's done. Timeout. Dang it. That's okay. Now you have the flute. How did that girl... Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, that came out before the game came out. So how did she already know... Firstly, how did they know where the flute was? Secondly, how do they know what the flute did? Like, it was a competition. How did you have all this information? This is insider trading, good sir. The insider trading of secrets. Oh, shoot. If I had a Yoshi, you would have been useful, but you're not. Because I can't eat you and get wings. Blue Koopa Troopas, the original Red Bull. Alright, let's see. Ah! Okay. Yeah, I definitely did that. When I fell the first time, I definitely did the Hank Hill yell. I realized that. That's fine. I like this music. I don't know what it's from still, but I like it. There we are. I knew he was coming, so I was like, alright, we're fine. Alright, let's see what happens. Bloop. I feel like that these are in wood, and I feel like that the entire premise of the first level of this world was that they chopped through those, but who am I to judge? Oh, okay. The mushroom turned its back on me. He's like, I'm going. In Universe Explanation, Super Mario Bros. 3 came out before, as it normally would, and then they be... Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so, uh-oh. Wait a minute. So we're on the jump. Wait. Okay. There are 5 Reznor this time. Oh, thank goodness. It froze me, so I couldn't jump again. So when the block fell, I was like, oh no. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I have always thought that, because the movie came out beforehand, it was a big promo for it, so I was always like, how did she know where that was? But it's like, oh, you got the... Okay, so I get it. That makes sense. I guess that does also technically would be a better promo for us to know that the whistle was there. Almost tried right at the button. Yeah. Oh, yay! It's like, was it World 4 that was Big World in... Which world was Big World? Was it World 4 in Super Mario World 3? So you can hear this is absolutely Crash Bandicoot. That's a thwomp, but I think he's an inactive thwomp. He's unemployed. I still think this is not... Oh, shoot. This is... I was not paying attention. This is not used its... used its? I meant lost. Then I was gonna say lose. This is not lost its thrill. The thrill of all the stuff being super big. I mean, the hammers to the crotch, not so thrilling, but okay. Well, in Mario Impossible on YouTube, you can complete the end-of-level go post, except Mario falls into the bottomless pit seconds later. I mean, so long as it gives you the completion. I've had that happen, though, where the error where you'll... Uh-oh. Sorry, my phone went off, and then all of a sudden I thought, well, let's look at that. I thought my phone went off. I guess it didn't. It doesn't show any message. It just vibrated. Not dead. Okay, let's try this again. I had to reload it, so I had originally had I think like 21 lives, but we're back down to the normal 5 that you get originally. So, oh, I love that. Just spin jump with confidence. It's a big shell too, so that wasn't just a normal failure. That was an utter failure. I think an udder failure would be what happens if a farmer fails to milk a cow. That would be, I think that's an udder failure, technically. Or if the cow fails to produce milk, that also could be it. You never know. Okay. I don't think, what I was saying is I don't think it's lost its fun, everything being big. Like the oversized trope, I think is super fun still. Let's use you on the Hammer Bro. Oh, you don't work on the Hammer Bro. Wonderful, wonderful. Wish I had known that ahead of time. I like the Crash Bandicoot music in this, though. I think this actually matches. I don't know why, but the light blue pipes always feel the most inviting. This doesn't follow the traditional rule, though, of if it's a pipe that a plant is in, you're likely not going to go in it. When you play the... Uh-oh. I don't know how I missed that, but okay. The first Mario, obviously, they had the castle where you can go into the pipe that the plant came out of, but Super Mario World, the rule was if a plant came out of it, I don't think you can go in any of those pipes. So this one was different, because you can go into the pipe. I like the giant spinies with little wiggly legs, and the, like, 2 frames of animation. I also like the mint green colored pipes. I think that's really... They changed the color scheme, and I think it's nice. Ah, shoot. They kind of, like, lightened some of it a little bit, so you've got these kind of minty greens. And I've always thought that that kind of minty, kind of blue-green is very pleasant. Not a favorite color of mine, but something I definitely enjoy. Okay, that was what I was trying to do the last time, and I just didn't pay attention, apparently. Or at least not enough attention. Alright, let me take a look here. Yeah, we got some time. We don't have a ton of time, but we got some time. Keeping an eye on the timer, so sorry about the pause. Oop. I do want to go ahead and take an opportunity to say something that I didn't say at the beginning of this, and so shame on me for that. But if you guys are seeing this after the fact, if you happen to go and be one of those people who didn't get to see it live, perfectly okay. But I do have a recommendation, and that is to take a look at my description. So in addition to, in the description, not only will you be able to find where I found the ROM hack of this game, so you can patch your own version, but you'll also be able to find channels that are to content that I personally quite enjoy. So if you are interested in good content, you'll find that in there. So if you'll take a look below, you'll find channel links to Vidi Plays, since Vidi's here, Vidi's gaming videos and Vidi Plays, both of those channels are down in the description. Does a plethora of content, including reviews, stream announcement. He did a charity stream. I mean, there's a ton of great backlog as well as good upcoming material. We have Ash Talks Games, which is also in the description, and while there's no current content there, there's some new content planned that I've been made privy to in the near future. I highly recommend checking it out as well, or at least subscribing and getting notification if you're interested in game review, game talk, just general fun. In addition to those guys, there's also Thumbros. Thumbros, both his Twitch and YouTube channels, where he posts speedrunning, he posts speedrun attempts, tactics. I don't know how to get up there. I think it's probably a fire flower, which I really wouldn't have minded having. Anyway, he posts Let's Plays in the form of speedrunning and Let's Learns, which are great. So not only is he a phenomenal speedrunner, but you'll actually get to see him practicing on some of the strats that he works on and kind of follow along with him. He does kind of talk you through his process, which I think is really great for people that are just trying to get into the basics of speedrunning. But he's most frequently, as I understand it, on Twitch, though there are some YouTube videos up, as well as I think he shares some of his stuff on YouTube, so check that out. And then last, of course, but sorry, not last but least, there's still, last but not least, excuse me, there's still more. There is also Omega Ace Gaming. I did happen to catch a stream early this morning because I couldn't sleep, where he was streaming. Oh, good lord, everything is huge, like more gigantic than it is normally. But if I go in here... Oh, it's the same thing, but it's tinier. Why would I want that? It seems like this... Okay, well. Anyway, Omega Ace Gaming, who recently, specifically earlier this morning, about midnight my time, I think it would have been about 10 o'clock when he finished his time, did a stream of one of the Golden Axe arcade games. Very, very cool. He actually did 2 Golden Axe arcade games, completed them, and he actually had a simulation of how many quarters it would take him, or it would cost him, to, a simulation of... Oh, well, that seems much more inconvenient. Why would I do that? He actually had a simulation of the... Oh, I see. Of how many quarters it would cost him. I think it cost him ultimately... Well, I don't want to tell you. If you want to go watch it, you might take a look and see. It's really cool. It's really good stuff. So Omega Ace Gaming, he does all kinds of great Let's Plays, new stuff. Fire doesn't even hurt these guys. And then, last but certainly not least, is the Siren Ivy, my beautiful wife, who streams... she's been streaming pretty regularly, actually, recently. She streams Let's Plays as well. I think right now she's most focused, excuse me. Wait, isn't this just where I was a minute ago? Yeah, this is where I was a minute ago. Why don't I just... This is... circuitous. She's been recently, excuse me, she's been putting her time into Batman Arkham Asylum and doing some really cool spooky face paints to get into the Halloween spirit. So she did her Poison Ivy one today, and it was really cool. So if you get a chance, take a look at that. That's always a lot of fun. Also, if you want to see somebody play spooky games and get scared legitimately, it's always fun to watch her jump and get screamed. She's got a Twitch clip that I helped her with that was actually quite a lot of fun, where she jumped hardcore. So, a lot of fun. You guys are always easier when you're little, and okay, that was fruitless. Oop. Oop. Okay. I'm not sure what the utility of being in the big world yet is. But so far, I mean, obviously that would have been nicer, but... Okay, so these guys suck because they throw things faster than the big chungus. Okay, I get why that was. Okay. Why doesn't that knock him off? I need him to respawn now. He's still up there, huh? He's like that one neighbor that's like, I don't need it, but I guess I'll do it, you know? I'm guessing the secret's gonna be up there, but I have not revealed the red blocks yet, so that's fine. Wait, what? Where did I miss? Okay, so I'm gonna... Oh, shoot. So I'm guessing I need to find the door. Or I need to go into this door and then do that same thing that I just did in the small part. Ah! Dang it! Okay. Because that pipe is too big. If that pipe were smaller, then I might be able to squeeze under it. But it doesn't matter because I'm back to the midpoint. Or the very beginning? Did I not hit a midpoint? I guess I didn't. Okay, I think I'm going to just keep going. Nope, I can't. Never mind. I think I'm going to go back and go through this door. I guess that does... It seems like this was a midpoint, doesn't it? I don't know if it was or wasn't. Sorry, I got off the mic. My mic technique for condensers is decent. My mic technique for dynamics is not practiced yet. I have not really worked with dynamics a ton. So I don't have great technique for dynamic mics yet, so I apologize if I'm just breathing and popping and plosiving the mic, you know? Or hissing. I did put a de-esser in there because I understood that these were a little bit more true to life, I guess, not than a condenser necessarily, but then it would be more sparkly. That would be the word, I guess. Than my condenser mic was. Let's go ahead and get that extra life. Well, 1 coin short. What are you gonna do? Get that coin. That's the answer. Anyway, but they're a little bit, I guess, more sibilant than the condenser mic that I have. So because of that, dang it, I've got to time that jump. This is like Oil Drum Alley in Donkey Kong Country. I have to time it for when the fire's going back in versus... Anyway, I think what I'll do is I'll try to play to the castle. Luckily, I think the deaths in this game are fairly forgiving. So I'll try to play through to the Castle 6. That'll be 2 worlds defeated. I'll be pretty happy about that, I think. And then we will... Oh, that's right, I have to do this. We'll call it good. We'll call it a good stream. We'll have done some Star Wars and some Mario, as advertised. And I had fun doing that, so that was really cool. I hope that you've had fun as well. And I hope also that those of you who watch it afterwards have some fun, and if it does spark some Star Wars discussion, I am certainly happy about that, because I love talking Star Wars, so... again, I'm not in it for the whole like, comment, subscribe thing, but I love Star Wars, so Star Wars conversations are always welcome. But not required. Trust me, I'll find ways to talk about, I'll find ways to talk about Star Wars. Dang it, I always go... Sometimes, I'm convinced it's not just me, because I do know for a fact I hit jump, and it did not jump, so I'm guessing my input was just eaten there. I need honestly, I don't know if I can do it, but I need a fire flower. It's forgiving. I should start right back where I started anyway, so it shouldn't be a big deal, but yes, I did game over. Because I'm an amateur. No, actually, I've never played this game before, so I fully expect to game over quite a few times. I'll try not to. I'll try to keep that to a minimum, but there was this big, and I don't know if maybe it's still going on. I don't know if it is. There was this big, like, scrutiny against, like, there was this big, like, purists, oh, it's got to be deathless, and oh, it's got to be the fastest. Speedrun and all that. And don't get me wrong, the speedrunning community and being a speedrunner, I'm not a speedrunner, but the speedrunning community and to be a speedrunner is definitely an accolade that is impressive. But that's not why I play video games. I play video games because I have fun playing video games. So, if a video game, and I have a very complicated multi-step program here. You'll have to forgive the complexity of what I'm about to say. If I stop having fun, like playing, if a video game stops being fun, I hate that. If a video game stops being fun for me, I stop playing it. So, for me, jump. Yeah, I kind of have this pattern. Cool. Now, what I need to do is get the heck out of dodge. He doesn't throw them nearly as far, but if he jumps, I get stuck. And I can't really hurt anything in this world. So I want him to go ahead and jump on top of that. And then I'm going to take... Oh, I can't take the mushroom. I've forgotten. I forgot the mushroom didn't come down and bumping it doesn't hurt him. So I just have to go over him. Okay, that was my fault. But yeah, there was this obsession with finishing games in record times and deathless runs, no death runs, whatever. And I mean, it's cool if you can do that kind of stuff. I think that's really cool and impressive. But also, like, again, if I'm not having fun playing a game, and part of having fun playing a game is the death, right? It's dying and figuring out why you died. And like, a good example, again, no spoiler, going back to Star Wars though, I played Jedi Survivor, and the final boss of Jedi Survivor, I played Jedi Survivor on Grandmaster, which is really hard, by the way. I mean, just insanely hard. And I didn't do it because I wanted to be like, oh, I'm going to be super impressive. I did it because I did it because I like the challenge, and especially when it comes to Star Wars games, some part of me is like, I want the Grandmaster rank. There's only one. It's like the Highlander. There's only Yoda, and then there was only Luke, and there's only ever one Jedi Grandmaster, right? But anyway, not for realsies, but the final boss, no spoilers, because that game is recent enough that I feel like people should play it. He's hard, and I fought him for hours over the span of several days. Just that same fight over and over, figuring out, changing tactic, changing stances, changing what powers I wanted to use, etc., etc. And I finally defeated him. Somebody watching that stream could potentially have been bored, and I would have, been sorry, obviously, if that would have happened. But it was super fun for me to finish that with all the deaths and everything. So I'm not a complicated man. That's what I should have done the first several times. I don't know why I didn't. So I'm not a complicated man. I put my shoes on one foot at a time. But I knew that was going to happen. I knew I jumped too early. But anyway, I'm not a remarkably complicated man. It's, if I want to quote Jango Fett, if I want to stay with Star Wars, I'm just a simple man trying to make his way across the universe. Let me try this. Oh, no, it does not affect the mushroom whatsoever. I thought that maybe jumping and I could bump the mushroom back down and then damage boost through him, but that didn't seem to do the trick. If I game over again, we'll call it here. If not, then I'll try to get to the castle. That would be what I would prefer to do, but it may not happen. So if it does not happen, my apologies. I will still have had fun, and hopefully so will you have. But yeah, there was this obsession with all of that kind of stuff. Buffy review is done, finally. Super excited. Has to be uploaded though. Is that usually an arduous process for you? It started off as a really difficult process for my stuff, and then over time it's gotten easier, thankfully. But because I guess they've got more efficient on it because more people have started uploading stuff. Also, what editing software? Can I ask, what editing software do you use? I may have asked this before and I just didn't. I use DaVinci, and it is awesome. But I'm always looking for ways to be better. And I like your edits quite a lot. Okay. Adobe Premiere Pro. I used to use Premiere Pro, but then I used the whole Creative Cloud suite, and it just got too expensive. And it's almost like I have to do an equipment checklist in case I join the group channel. Oh, that's weird. I mean, that's more complicated than I think it should be. Okay, I can bait him into jumping and jump between the hammers and do that, I guess. I'm not going to despawn him, but let's see if I can just outsmart him. The answer is kind of. We are closer to the home stretch, though, because that pipe should be just ahead. And should be... We're wrong. It has to be small. Dang it! I knew this looked familiar. So this whole time I was doing that for no good reason. Shoot. That's fine, that's my fault. Speaking of equipment, I need to double check some of my retro console connections for recording, especially the N64, GameCube, and PS2. I just got... Oh, sorry, the subscription aspect of Adobe and stuff is definitely a turn-off, to be fair, but it works for me. Hey, if it works for you, it works for you. It just got too expensive for me. It was $20 for just one, and I was paying $60, I think, or $50 for all of them, but then they jacked it up to like $75 or something over here. I don't know. Anyway, I use DaVinci, and it seems to have done well, but I'm always looking for potential upgrades. That's so my N64 is plugged in the normal way. PS2, I got an HDMI cable for PS2 to HDMI now, and then my GameCube, I actually just use a Wii with an HDMI to Wii connection. Okay, the good news is if I get him to jump up there, then I can legitimately just take him out that way, and then I can be Mushroom Mario. That's cool. Now, I should not be denied access. Yes! Is this the end of the level? Is that really... Was I struggling all for just this? I was. So either game over to the castle and then we'll call it quits. That should be around the time frame. I'm thinking of a Wii HDMI converter, and I still have the Wii in a cupboard somewhere, backwards compatible with GCN games. So I started buying them up around here. I started buying them in bulk. They're about $30 for a Wii, and then the cables, the HDMI cables around here, are about $20. So $50 per Wii. I think I bought 4 of them. Over time, I didn't buy them all at once. I just give them $200 and say, "Here you go." And then what I do is I hack them and use the native emulation in there to emulate some of the stuff for more expensive games. So, for example, I have a copy of Earthbound, a cartridge of Earthbound. I may not want to ruin that cartridge. I have a Chrono Trigger cartridge. I may not want to ruin that cartridge. So I will emulate those if I'm worried about stripping those cartridges. Sometimes I am. Most of the time I am. Those are more and more expensive, so... Or are becoming more and more expensive. Have become more and more expensive? I'm not sure what appropriately they have done, but... Generally speaking. Yeah, they don't, but because they did... so here... let's see. I'm thinking of the Wii HDMI converter. Okay, sorry, yes. Shame the Wii doesn't use the game... Hey, Thumb Bros, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Sorry you missed the ranking list for my Star Wars stuff and the shout-out. I've got your channels down in the description. Sorry I had to also miss that last video. I'm back on dry land now, but when you had originally messaged me, I didn't have a stable connection. I was out on a boat in the middle of the ocean towards coming back from Roatan, Honduras. So... it doesn't use the Game Boy player, but the Wii and the Wii U obviously were doing the Game Boy emulation. So I do use those. I do tap in when I don't hack hardware. It's only ever It's only ever a software hack that can be taken or removed off. It won't void the warranty. But how am I gonna do this? Like that, I guess. Almost poorly. But the hack doesn't hard modify the console, so no warranties are voided. And yet, at the same time, I don't think you can kill those. Oh, you can in this one. But then at the same time, you can you can put all your GBA, GBC ROMs on there. And GB ROMs. So that's what I do to blow them up. I have the cartridges, but I don't have a way to put the cartridges on the big screen, except for the Game Boy player. Or to use the modded Wii to use the program. It works pretty good, though. They run with 1-to-1 fidelity. And you can also do all of the Game Boy stuff you could do before. Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance and all that good stuff. Change your backgrounds and stuff you could do with stuff you could do with the Game Boy Color player. Game Boy player, good lord. I'm so focused on not dying. In every generation there is an amateur and an expert. They alone will do the speedruns, puns, and retro gaming streams. They are the Thumb Brothers. You shouldn't have canceled the boat trip, kid. I was so sad that when I finally get a notification from you, I don't have reliable connectivity. So I'm so sorry. Sorry, I'm in a Buffy mood. No, that's great. That's good to see you traveled a bit. Hope it was good. It was good. I got injured in a scuba accident. That was the worst part about it. Other than that, it was a ton of fun. Yeah, I got injured in a scuba accident. The worst thing that happened. It was worth it. Completely worth it. Fine. Damage boost and go. Oh, I see what you were doing. You were doing the intro. I can't do Giles's voice very well. He was the guy that did. He was the actor that sang in Repo Man, the Genetic Opera too. Generic Opera. Genetic Opera? I can't remember which it was. Anyway, super good. One of Anna's favorites, and one of the things I liked to watch with her. We might have the collab races brewing. Hence Zelda, very cool. Yeah, I'll work on his voice. I know he's got a very, very, very distinct British voice. Very, very sophisticated man. Hope you're feeling better after the accident. I'm a little bruised up, but I feel fine. I mean, I'm okay. Okay. No, I hurt. Let's be honest. I'm okay. I appreciate your concern. I really do. Or I appreciate your well wishes. Let's say. I'm sore. I'm on a cane right now, but I'm still completely mobile. I didn't take any time off work or any of that. I'm all good to go for now. If anything happens, I'll check it out. But I had so much fun. It was worth it. And then Anna got me this really neat little custom cane. It's got my name on it now because she is a sweetheart and wanted to make sure I was all right. This is actually a Mario original remix as far as I know. I don't think this comes from another Mario source. One of the really cool original tracks, I think. I vaguely remember when I streamed Link to the Past, the Zelda collab of that kind was at least mentioned. Nice. Very nice. I love Zelda, I just am not great at it. I play it very slow, at a very slow pace. I have a lot of fun. Actually, just recently, fairly recently, not just recently, but fairly recently, ended up with the I can't remember which one it is. It's the HD remake. It's not Link's Awakening. There it is, HD. Yeah, that's just for the Yoshi coin, but I'm gonna use this skip. Speaking of Discords, besides the speedrun Discords, I only actively chat time to time in there. That's fair. My Twitter etiquette is awful. We were just talking. I don't unless I get a notification that one of you guys are going live. I usually will just leave it alone. I tried to make sure I do it, but sometimes I don't get notifications either. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason for not getting notifications are, but it really frustrates me. I finally got a notification for Omega Ace at like 12 this morning. I was in bed. I was awake. I did watch his stream. If I get notifications for you guys, I will watch your content. I am just super sorry that it hasn't always been so easy. Oop. Or that I haven't been so present. I promise you that it's not... Oh, you can't take those on when they're... Okay. Didn't know that. That was my fault. But I'm so sorry I haven't been remarkably present with that. Oh, sure. Read your general post on my Discord thumb. It's okay to not be consistently active on social media that much. We probably stare at our screens too much. Yes, you are right. Let's use some Star Wars again. Don't center on your anxieties. Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs. You don't get... The thing about it that people don't get anymore is... let me get existential here for a minute with you. This very moment you're living right now... I'm talking to everyone who is listening. This very moment right now, you are the oldest you have ever been and the youngest you will ever be again. So appreciate this moment that you are in. Enjoy it. Find and make it your moment. Make it a happy moment. Distract yourself from angry. And the more you do that, the more that when you look back on life, you'll have found yourself to be, or have been, more satisfied. And our screens do not accomplish that. I don't feel. Some people may, if that's your catharsis, but it does not, for me, do the trick. Ooh. Well, this is gonna kill me. Thought one of those would let me out. I guess I could do a better job reaching out to individual people if there happens to be a special event or race happening. No, it's the thing about it is it shouldn't be, and me included, it shouldn't be a job. Like, that's there is some level of the automation should. That's part of the automation. The whole point of these social networks is the convenience. It's supposed to be convenient, right? So, I mean, obviously, it's nice to hear from you when an event is going on if I'm not getting notified, but it also shouldn't become a job or a chore for you. Oh, well, I'm doing a special event. Let me make sure I reach out to everybody who might want to be a participant. That doesn't sound... That can become tedious for you, and that's not fair to you. I think I would be more frustrated with the people that were running the site if that were the case. But that's me. I'll have one next week, and I could message some people a day or two beforehand. No pressure, no worries. Yeah, I mean, if you'll let me know ahead of time, I certainly will attempt to be there. I know our time zones are a smidge different. Viddy, I know our time zones are wildly different. I think ours are 16 hours difference, whereas Thumb and I are only an hour difference. He's an hour ahead of me, so worst comes to worst is you get started at 5 o'clock your time, and that's 4 o'clock my time, and I'm not done with work yet or something, but... Worst case in scenario, something like that happens, and I'm just I'm just late, which I will try not to be. I like these mega thwomp. I don't know what voice that was. It sounded like Sling Blade.
Well, some people call it a Sling Blade. I call it a Kaiser Blade.
All right. If you've not seen that movie, I apologize for the awful reference. Great movie, but awful reference. Oh, he just goes straight down, huh? All right. You don't... another thing about this, not in this part, but you don't get as many iframes in this as you do in the original one. You have about 3/4 the iframes you get in the original one. I'm not a speedrunner, but I know what iframes are. See, these are cool concepts. I really like this music for it, too. It's very... almost Castlevania-y. Okay, are you strictly sideways here? Okay. You're down. Okay. Oh! Oh, they pause you. I need to be in the air when that happens. Oh, you can't jump on them either. Just go. I do like that it only takes you down one level, though, instead of taking you all the way to small. That would be frustrating. Okay, this is interesting. This is an interesting concept. It's also a predicament, and I'm not a fan. Yep, that's what I expected to happen. That's okay. This sounds like a Castlevania game. It sounds like this could be a part of a Castlevania game. Maybe it is, and I just am not picking up which one. Omega would probably pick it up in a heartbeat. I like to believe myself to be a big Castlevania fan, but I think when it comes to Omega, I think he's got me beat there. I think I am probably a bigger Star Wars fan, but I think he's got me beat on Castlevania. Okay, that one goes up. Oh, and sideways? Does it go in a square? Oh, it does! Oh, the fireball was still there, though. I was so enamored with its talent. Its multi-directionality. I'm not gonna... Oh! Okay, which way does this one go? Does it go sideways, too? Mario Castlevania mod. Heck, someone tried to replicate the final Metroid NES level in Mario Maker. I heard a rumor that this might have some Metroid-y stuff in it, too. Oh, it's telling me. It's like it's magic. Okay. But I also don't care. I'm going to block him in there and he'll never come out again. That's super cool. Okay, I'm guessing this door, and I'm hoping that it's not a boss fight. It's not. I can show you the world. It's not what it is. Okay, I just wanted to see. I think this is such a cool remix. It does kind of sound like that though. The Aladdin Super Nintendo game for SNES. All right, World 7. We knocked out 2 worlds. We knocked out a Star Wars movie and show tier list. I didn't spoil anything. I think I'm going to call this a good stream, and I hope you guys will have called it a stream that you enjoyed as well. Hopefully I've gotten your mind off of negativity or stress just for a moment to share some time playing games and having fun with me. I will go ahead and switch over. So this isn't a hack, rando. It's like an homage. It's technically a ROM hack. It is. I did put a nice. That's a good tie-in. Very well done, Viddy. I did put this in. So this is actually a patch ROM hack of Super Mario World, but it is made to be a sequel. It's actually made to be a sequel to a sequel, but it is really a sequel. I put the ROM hack in the description. All you need is a clean Super Mario World ROM, and then if you're using Windows, you'll need Lunar IPS Patcher. Take the little file that I've given you in the description, take your clean ROM, let it patch those, and you're playing this game. But it's definitely, I mean, this is good enough that I think that it feels like, looks like a cool game. Thanks for the, yeah, hopefully hopefully it works out and you enjoy it. Music's good, a lot of custom bosses, a lot of really cool, tricky concepts. It's really fun. And I think there are 12 or 13 worlds, so it's actually decently elaborate, too. Yeah. But let me go ahead and switch over. Turn on just a little bit of music. Turn it down just a little bit. All right. So what I am going to say is thank you so very much. Obviously, my screen says thank you for watching, but I want to thank you guys for a lot more than that. Especially those of you who have been watching for a while, not just today, but in general, just getting to interact with me and being online friends or however you quantify it, up to you, of course, but spending time with me, having fun, trading stories and secrets, and sharing fun things that you had in your childhood so that we can kind of just enjoy the perpetuity of niceness and fun and happiness and all that kind of good stuff, because it is a lot. There is a lot of screen time, and obviously playing video games, we're not diminishing the screen time, but we're, I think, more actively and more efficiently channeling our screen time. If I have to look at a screen all day, then I'd much rather look at a game that gives me some sort of happiness or nostalgia than I would a Twitter post that some random person who I don't even know decided to have a very unpopular take or opinion on. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys coming in and making jokes and doing things that help kind of keep me in that same happy mindset, and I hope I do the same for you guys whenever you come and see me play games. So yeah, a big thank you to all of you who watched this video here live with me, but also to those of you who see it after the fact and you look and say, oh, well, I remember this. A huge thank you, of course, though, to Viddy and to Thumb, who did pop in, say hi, talk with me, converse, go through a tier list and some random Mario levels, and let me know what they were up to, because I'm excited to see all that kind of good stuff. And you probably will be too, if you're watching this after the fact and you aren't one of the usual people. If you take a look down in my description, you will see a series of links to some really awesome guys and really awesome channels. So there are, again, I'll recap. Thumb Bros, I think I've got both. If not, I'll correct it, but I think I have both your Twitch and YouTube stream. Thumb does a ton of content, some Let's Plays, some speed runs, and he does some really cool stuff where he plays and shows kind of his process in learning the speed run. It's really, really cool. So if you get a chance and you're looking to learn a specific game, the Let's Learn aspect of his speed running, which is the combination of Let's Play and the learning of a technique, are a really, really good place to start, I think. At least it's taught me some things. And then you've got Viddy's gaming videos and Viddy Plays. Viddy Plays his Let's Play channel as well as Viddy's gaming videos, where he's got all kinds of content announcements and clips and streams and reviews. And oh my goodness, you've got all kinds of good stuff on there. Of course, though. I want to be very clear. I try to support everybody I possibly can. If I'm not whether I'm getting notifications or not, though, please believe that I am constantly constantly supporting you guys in as much as I know how to. If a notification doesn't come up, I may not know what you've done recently, but at the same time, it doesn't stop me from wanting to try to check in time to time. I will get better about the Twitch thing. I apologize. That's not one I'm very good at checking. I haven't got notifications, but I'm not good at checking that, so that is my fault. If I don't get the notifications, I need to make it a point to try to go to your channel page and at least check them out manually every so often so that I'm not missing out on the awesome content. In addition to them, you'll also see Omega Ace Gaming. Omega Ace Gaming does a lot of cool Let's Plays. He has some really neat shorts, too, like the Belmont Hold, where he talks about the legacies and stories and origins of different various weapons and villains and lore from Castlevania series. He played some Golden Axe games last night, got through those, and got ready to watch The Thing and a Discord group. So he does a lot of cool kind of random stuff as well in the retro realm. And then lastly, but not least, of the Four Horsemen, we have Ash Talks Games, who hasn't put the content out just yet, but he's started to build up, and we've been talking about different various things that he's looking to do. I think it'll be worth putting in a little bell icon thing so that when he does finally upload that first video, you guys are ready to go, because I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. And then outside of the Four Horsemen, I could never forget, she's never last and she's never least in my book, always, tip of the top, my beautiful wife, Anna the Siren Ivy, who has been streaming more regularly. Today she did a stream of Arkham Asylum with Batman, where she was in Poison Ivy face paint. How awesome is that for Halloween? She's also done some Arkham Asylum with Harley Quinn, and she'll likely do some more Arkham Asylum as we're in this Halloween Batman-y kind of creepy vibe mood. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, she's always a lot of fun to go and take a look at. As far as her content, please, I said that poorly. She's my wife, and I said that very poorly. I'm so sorry, love. So sorry, Anna. But in any which way, no, if you do want to go and take a look at her content, she's great. She's absolutely fantastic, a lot of fun, and I wholeheartedly think that you'll have a ton of fun spending some time there with her as well. The last thank you that I want to issue is, of course, the same thank you that I issue each time, no less heartfelt, but certainly needing to be verbalized again, and that's the thank you to anybody who comes and takes a look at the channel after the fact, and hopefully I put a smile on your face, caused you to laugh at a tongue-in-cheek joke, or maybe you like to talk about this type of stuff, and I've given you another outlet with someone who will talk in a non-confrontational way. That's what I hope to do, at least, whether that be Mario or Star Wars or any of the other little retro sillies that I've done. But I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will see you guys soon. Have a good night.